I'm just going to cut it there because I haven't done a new intro, and that's my fault. So, welcome everybody to literally Hitler and the Nazis, Evil on Trial. It is episode number 5, Crimes Against Humanity, because of course they did. So, welcome everybody. Also, welcome to the most incredible co-host, Anna.
Hi everyone. Hello, good to see you.
Oh, we're doing cameras now. I'm kidding. I kid. I took Taylor Swift away so everybody can put their Taylor Swift PTSD away. And I'm like, yeah. So that being said, yes, Andy Pickle. Shout out to everybody who's watching on all platforms, even if you're lurking, it doesn't matter. Andy Pickle says thumbs up, and he also says, "Guten Tag, mein Fräulein," and
Yeah,
this is in response to "Good evening" for Anna and "Guten Abend." I don't.
Dobry wieczór.
Dobry wieczór, soldiers.
Yeah, that's
Probably.
pretty good.
Thank you. So, with that being said, we're trying something new.
Sorry, it was definitely a lot better than the very weird Scottish accent I think you were trying to do when you were reviewing something.
Oh, I don't know.
You were reviewing something, and I was like, "What kind of accent is that?" And I think you were trying to do either an Australian or Scottish or whatever.
I think I remember that. I don't remember which one it was though. I do so many voices that it's like I don't know. Especially when yeah, we'll not. We'll just not.
Yeah.
Andy says comrade.
Comrade
You,
Andy. Mm-hmm.
you know, one of my favorite games growing up as a kid was Command and Conquer Red Alert, and it was basically
Didn't it have Gina Carano in it? Isn't it?
that was Red Alert 2.
Oh, okay.
The original Red Alert, and a lot of people didn't know this, is that the Soviets had the best stuff. Like I always played the Soviet side because they had the best stuff. That like Tesla coils, and that had like tanks with double cannons, and it's like the Allied crap sucked, and they had missile submarines.
I've seen people play it, but I never got into it.
I loved that game. I always played the Soviets. They had the best stuff. They had the best stuff. Seriously. I mean, yeah, it literally is like a giant like Tesla coil. It'd be like, and it would just like zap a guy, and he'd be like, oh, and he'd like anyway. Anna's like, what are we talking about here? So we're trying something new. We're gonna be doing an overlay.
Why is that over my face?
Well, it's over all of us. I haven't shared this yet. So now
no, sorry, it's the background. Okay.
Yeah, it's our background, but we're using it as
so we're like transparent.
That's okay.
No, we're supposed to be normal, and then the background is supposed to be the.
Okay, I'm not that good.
Anyway, we'll figure it out later. But yeah, I'm a specter now, so
I'll ask Adam.
Yeah.
Adam does Mordor Country, and this is what he does. So, but mine is
go check out Adam, the Renaissance nerd.
We like Adam.
He does reviews of Rings of Power, so check him out.
God bless that man. Yeah, so we're gonna try 30%. If the stream goes down, bear with us. I'll get it back, and we'll up it to like 40% and see which works. The background, the background plays into the foreground. What? Yeah.
Oh my goodness, this is not. But this is actually going back to the topic we're discussing. This was really difficult for me to watch. I had to like pause it a couple of times because of, I mean, I've seen a lot of footage that they show in it, but just a disclaimer, there's a lot of really horrific things that they do show and talk about. So if you're, just be aware. I got really emotional.
Yeah, this one's rough because again, it's crimes against humanity, and I think we've all seen. Well, some of us, I would say, not maybe modern kids. But anyway, uh,
Yeah.
I made just go. We're just going.
Hmm.
I try. Okay, 40 is better. We'll try. We'll do 40.
07:55 hours. First wave of Japanese planes attacks Hickam Field to keep the American Air Corps from mounting a counterattack. Bulk of Hawaiian land-based air power is destroyed.
Do you kind of?
I'm sorry, I find it a little bit unnerving because his face is always there and I can't stop like looking at him, looking at me, and it's making me feel weird. Because at least without the overlay, we had our selves on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So it just, yeah, I'll get used to it. I just feel very intimidated.
I mean, he's staring through your soul.
I know, right? I don't like it.
I mean, like that episode where they said that he was like lazy and stuff like that. No, I think he was kind of an intimidating man. Like if he would look the way he would look, I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I don't believe he was lazy. I think he was somebody that if he looked at you a certain way, you're like, dude, I'm about ready to go to a camp. But
Yeah, so we're in Pearl Harbor.
yes,
Destroyed in 20 minutes. 07:57 hours. The major strike against the primary target begins. Battleship Row, the backbone of the Pacific Fleet. 7 of 8 battleships are seriously damaged.
hi Wade,
Hi, Wade.
hi Wade. We're overlaid, so we may
I'm a
look weird.
ghost. I'm a ghost, Wade.
I do
Brian
as
made
well.
me into a ghost.
Well, all I have to do is this, and it's not a ghost. It's really bad if we do that one. That's 50. I don't like 50.
Oh my God, stop messing around. Get
Sorry.
to Pearl Harbor already.
Anna's like, let's get to the point, bro.
Yeah.
All right.
The attack at Pearl Harbor has erased the great debate on America's participation in World War II.
The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor is devastating, of course, to the Americans because it destroys a vast amount of the American Pacific Fleet.
Did they
with
actually
very
say
heavy
the
American
date, or
casualties.
did they just say the time?
Uh,
I don't
You-
think they actually said the date, which is very important, which is the 7th of December, 1941.
yeah.
I think they just said it was like 7 o'clock in the morning,
Did they not? I'll look because that is important.
or maybe
A
I
lot of
missed.
people, a lot of people don't know, Anna, and that's 100% true. They don't know. Oh, they did right here. Hawaii, 7 December 1941.
Oh, yeah, sorry. It's because, yeah, of the
No,
overlay.
you're good.
Didn't see
You're-
it.
Sorry, doing a new thing. Yes, it was 0757, which is 7:57 in the morning. Many soldiers were and sailors were doing maintenance duties. Sundays a lot of the time is for what is called, and I'll take the overlay off because we're talking about this. So Saturdays and Sundays, yes, a lot of the times, soldiers, sailors, airmen, all that, they get off. They don't have to do a whole lot of stuff. They do like some busy work. They might work maybe the morning or maybe the evening, depending on, and it's just maintenance stuff to upkeep the equipment that you have. So these guys were not expecting anything, and it's one of those things that when you live on a battleship, when you're out at sea, and that you're literally upkeeping where you live because it's imperative that it floats or your home goes under the water. Like
I'm
it's
going to be right back. I'm just going to grab something I want to show Andy.
okay. I do want to read. Wait, Anna is a cow ghost. Andy says he was, as everyone alive at the time, affected by World War One, the Great War, the big red one. Unless one is a student of history, the brutality of that war is often overlooked. Mustard gas and trench warfare. Yes, yes, it was horrendous. You know, World War One killed somewhere in the neighborhood of, I believe, around 4 million people. That is the most catastrophic war that literally the world had ever seen. It was called the Great War until World War II started, and then it killed somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10 million. It was not good, and you had these vicious battles, these vicious attacks, like 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 Pearl Harbor was a vicious attack. The Battle of Stalingrad in the Soviet Union. There's a Hollywood movie about it, and it's a very very good movie. The Battle of Stalingrad was vicious and bloody and just awful. And Anna can attest to that.
Sorry, I couldn't find it, but I was gonna say just the other day I was talking to somebody about the First World War and how like the second seemed to completely wash away the lessons that were not and were learned during the first, but like a really good book by Remarque, All Quiet on the Western Front. Like I really highly suggest it. It's also I think a film that
Hmm.
they made like back in the day, old
Yep,
Hollywood. Yeah.
yep. Back when Hollywood was actually good, because I was just talking about the movie Stalingrad. It was it showcased how awful, just truly horrible and awful that battle was,
Yeah.
and it might be probably one of the most vicious in World War II history. So yeah, I watched that movie when I was young. I think it came out in like roughly the late '90s, maybe early 2000s ish, somewhere in there. But worth watching. So makes it better if we're down. Oh, we cover up the subtitles. I'll cover up the subtitles. Oh, look now. Look. I'm gonna have to get it right. All right, let me turn the subtitles off because you're not gonna be able to really see them as well.
The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor is devastating, of course, to the Americans because it destroys a vast amount of the American Pacific Fleet with very heavy American casualties. The response by Hitler to that is
Okay.
somewhat surprising.
Yes,
Are
ma'am.
they going to tell us the casualties, the numbers? Or are they going to tell us? I mean, they said that 7 out of 8 of the big USS ships were
Yeah.
destroyed. But apart from that, you also had other vessels,
Yep.
military vessels, which were smaller ships, which were damaged. How many people died? It was like 2,500 or something people were
It
dead.
it it was
What?
2,403 U.S. personnel, which means military members, and
Yeah.
68 civilians were killed.
And then over like 1,000 people injured.
Yeah. Um, so it destroyed or damaged basically 19 U.S. Navy ships, including 8 battleships and 3 aircraft carriers of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. It was meant to wipe out the U.S. Pacific Fleet
Yeah.
because it was literally something that it was the only thing the Japanese could do, because quite frankly they couldn't stand up to the United States one on one. And so they did this sneak attack, and it was all orchestrated,
Uh-huh.
and they had to um they literally had to modify the aircraft for these torpedoes that were able
Wasn't
to.
Yeah, sorry, wasn't there a rumor that Roosevelt knew beforehand about the attack?
There were actually rumblings, yes, about attack that was imminent. The problem was, though, and that so radar at the time was very primitive, and it this giant basically grouping of planes, zeros and stuff like that, were coming in, and a radar operator thought it was a flock of birds because you couldn't distinguish at the time. They didn't We were arrogant, and they didn't think that the Japanese would actually do this. And so
Mm.
even though yes, the president was actually notified beforehand that the Japanese might actually strike, I think there was some question of whether or not. Also, on top of that, too, and this is probably the worst part. There was actually a Japanese spy submarine. What's up, man? How you doing? What's up, Clifton? Said good evening. A beer, pretzel of white wurst, and sweet mustard. Ozaft is. Hope I said that last part right. So there was actually a spy submarine, a small submersible. It was actually sunk in Pearl Harbor by I believe by a patrol boat, and they didn't think anything credible about this, which is arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
It's very arrogant. I think it's a lesson we unfortunately relearned on 9/11. There was talk about Oktoberfest.
Mm-hmm.
Oktoberfest is fun.
Yeah.
Only been once in Heidelberg. So it was one of those things that it was very arrogant of us, and I think we unfortunately had to relearn that on 9/11 because kind of the same
Mhm.
thing happened. We had reports and nobody took them seriously.
I think a lot of people were being arrogant. I think in the Soviet Union they were, and I think they will talk about it in this episode. But Stalin was arrogant. He never thought that Mustache Man would do that to him, and betray him like that. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, you have the two. In my opinion, you probably have the three largest world powers: the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union. And it's like, why would you think that these
yeah,
smaller
because
countries?
you think about it like this small little, not even a powerhouse of a country is going to do what to us, and that kind of thinking is very dangerous. But
Mm-hmm. It really is. Andy said something pretty interesting.
mhm.
The attack on Pearl Harbor had been a military exercise for over a decade at Annapolis. The Japanese attacked in the same way as was suggested in that same exercise. I believe that.
Mm,
I did not know that. I definitely believe that.
that's
So,
really interesting.
but because we thought that the harbor was too shallow, and the reason I say that because the wreck of the USS Arizona is still laying on the bottom. It's a memorial, obviously. They had to take the
Mhm.
turrets off. They had to take all the towers off and everything like that because even then the turret placements stick out of the water. That's how shallow it is. So a battleship is is very large, but it's not something it's not like Titanic depth. It's
Yeah,
literally it's a very shallow harbor. And so we didn't think that standard torpedoes would work because it didn't. And the Japanese were like, all right, we'll just figure a way around it. And I mean, the Japanese are a very smart army. They're very smart people. And we paid them no, never mind. And that sucks. So yeah, to about 2,400 people, a little over 2,400 people. Not great. Uh,
yeah.
but yes, Wade, congratulations on the new channel. Yeah, yes, that's how you copy Ryan Wade. How many channels now? Wade might have me beat. I'm gonna be honest. I think Wade's beating me. So Wade's the new champion. Shout out to the champion of channels.
Yay!
All right. So Mr. Mustache Man is like he's like
Fleet with very heavy American casualties. The response by Hitler to that is somewhat surprising because Hitler does not wait for the Americans. Hitler declares war on the United States.
Deutschland, Italien und Japan werden den ihnen von den Vereinigten Staaten von Amerika und England aufgezwungenen Krieg mit allen ihnen zur Gebot stehenden Machtmitteln gemeinsam bis
You're-
zum siegreichen Ende führen.
there you go. This is important. Yeah.
Yeah, the actual subtitles, the translation is being covered by our ghostly specters.
All
So
right.
you're gonna have to read or change it.
I can change it. Since we're deciding to show it, I'll change it.
The
Okay.
response
Nobody needs to
by
see my
Hitler
face. They're
to
here for
that
you
is
and the
somewhat
history.
surprising, because Hitler does not wait for the Americans. Hitler declares war on the United States.
Deutschland, Italien und Japan werden den ihnen von den Vereinigten Staaten von Amerika und England aufgezwungenen Krieg mit allen ihnen zur Gebot stehenden Machtmitteln gemeinsam bis zum siegreichen Ende führen.
Hitler thinks war against America is inevitable anyway. Right? He's convinced that America, along with Russia, is really the heart of world Jewry. For Hitler,
I mean, he's not wrong, as we just discussed. And I think Anna agrees. The Soviet Union, the United States, and the UK are going to be these massive things that Hitler needs to overcome if he wants to ultimately dominate the world, which is kind
Mm.
of what he was going for. It's
I
also
mean,
kind of
so overly confident though.
yeah.
Like, whoa, I mean, the two biggest countries in the world, and you're just like this tiny little thing, and you think that you can win. That to me, you need to be so either delusional and mentally insane, or you really believed that you could do it.
I think a little bit of both.
Mm.
I think a little bit of both. Uh,
And not only that, but to get your whole country, well, not whole, because there were people who didn't agree with him, who ended up being dead or whatever, but like to get an actual entourage of people who also share those beliefs and who in the beginning stages would support your visions. Like, it's like a cult, right?
hmm Yeah, I very much agree.
It's like with Jonestown, when he went over and like the amount like over 1,000 people decided to go and follow him somewhere blindly into the middle of the jungle, and then look at what happened. But yeah, it's fascinating how like again, like it's not profiling Hitler, but the way his mind worked in those beginning stages of the war. Yeah, I can't understand it. I don't think anybody would be able to.
No, no. We would have to talk to the man personally, or I don't know, maybe have preserved his brain to see if there was like what was going on up in there. But even then, at the time, they wouldn't have had the technology. Now we would be able to look at his brain and say, "Oh, he was suffering maybe from this or this," but not then. Not even in
Yeah.
the '90s. So yeah, no, there's no remains of him. Can't You can only study the archival footage and his actions and maybe the people and the testimonials of the people around him, but I don't think dude was right in the head. And I think he his biggest mistake was literally trying to fight a war on two fronts, especially with something the size of the Soviet Union. That would be that was just the most insane thing to do, you know. And especially because the winters in the Soviet Union are so extreme. You
But I
attack.
also yeah, I also think that in the episode they do talk about the fact that I mean with the winters, yes, but it wasn't really about the weather because Germany gets really cold as well. It was the fact that their machinery didn't work, but also that the Soviets were really good at like using like um what do you call it in military terms when you're being attacked and then you counterattack and then you counterattack from a different side, like their tactics were really good. That's why we have like monuments and statues to some of the greatest generals that came up with these tactics during the war. But it was also the sheer size of the army. Like if you keep throwing people at something and you're gonna at the end you're gonna run out of bullets, you're gonna be super tired, and therefore the people will just keep running and running and running, you're gonna have to retreat. So it was like a combination of different things. But yeah, like even Napoleon, in the Patriotic War of 1812, which is also a big turning point in the history of Europe and especially Russia at the time. His troops definitely froze to death because back then, you can imagine in the 19th century, you didn't have tanks, you didn't
Mhm.
have the same kind of equipment or clothing, that you did in the 40s. But then, yeah, that's why Napoleon gave up and he said, whatever, like 1 million of his soldiers died. And that's when he was like, no, I'm just going to leave Russia alone.
Yeah, I mean, and it still kind of holds a little bit true to, to even in the 40s, like a lot of the stuff they used for soldiers would be like leathers and wool. And yeah, in the 40s they had cotton, but it was something that, when it's frigid out, wool is so much better, leather is so
Yeah,
much better. But
if
when,
it's minus 40 and you're
yeah,
in
if it's my, yeah,
a tent.
I mean, you could take a jacket from today's world, and it would probably be the equivalent of, I don't know, 2.5 layers of a wool jacket or something, because obviously we have better, we're better at doing things now. But when it's -40 out, you're gonna freeze to death. It's
Yeah,
insane. I mean, you if your feet get wet, you get trench foot. You start getting, just horrible thing. Trench
gangrene, yeah.
foot is one of the most horrible
And
things you can get.
Andy also points out something that is very true. They did do very well in the beginning.
Yes, they
So
did.
from the very first day of invasion, and it took a couple of months, but they did. They took over the city of Idol, which is where my grandfather's family was from. So they had to flee. But in the end, because they only had like a cart and horse, they couldn't go far as the German army was approaching and taking over their village. So they just went back and like just were slaves to the Nazis, basically. And they got really close. And I mean, like, even the siege of the blockade of St. Petersburg, which lasted for years and years. And that's like, there's so many films and books written about it. It was horrible. People couldn't get food into the city, it was completely blocked off for like 3.5 years. So the Germans were doing well in the beginning, but then things started changing. And one of the reasons definitely is because the Allies, the United States, UK, France were really pushing back.
Yeah, it ultimately taxed the German army, which unfortunately was far more advanced in a lot of ways, because
Yep.
I mean they were throwing so much capital at R&D, research and development, and they were doing it of course, obviously they stole from everybody they could, anybody they conquered. It started with the Jews. They took, stuff from the rich Jews, they sold them. They take the gold, no, silver out of fillings of the teeth of Jewish people, went to the
Yeah.
concentration camps, which is awful.
Yeah, slave labor as well. Cheap
Yeah,
free
it's yep.
labor. Hmm.
And shout out to some of the countries in the United States who took advantage of that. They contacted Germany and
Some
said,
of the
hey,
countries in the United States. You have
yeah.
countries within the United States now.
So they're like, and these places, like, medical companies, like, hey guys, can we
Oh,
can we get a little bit of that, because we want to test a few things here. And it's
yeah.
like, are you serious? Again,
No.
Bayer, yeah, the aspirin company,
Mhm.
was basically was doing this on U.S. soil. Now, it's not a U.S. company, but it was doing it on U.S. soil. It was saying, it called up the Nazis, and this is real. Hey, can we get 150 women? We have single unmarried women, never pregnant. We're trying this new thing. They all died, and then they called up again. Hey, can we get like another 100? We're still trying to work some kinks out. That's gross, and it happened on actual U.S. soil. So
Mm.
the crimes against humanity just didn't stay in Europe. I'll just tell you that much. A lot of people don't know that.
America is the locus for the Jewish world conspiracy in its capitalist dimension, just like Moscow is the locus for the Jewish world conspiracy in its communist dimension.
Jeez.
This is, of course, absurd.
He is
Yes.
beginning to think in these prophetic, or if you like, apocalyptic.
Well, and the reason that Hitler hated the United States, and the reason that Hitler hated the Soviet Unions, for one reason, is because they were actually safe havens for Jews.
And because they are very multicultural places. Like if you
Yep.
look at, especially at that time, the amounts of like nationalities and ethnicities living within the Soviet Union or the United States was just, very diverse countries,
Yep.
extremely diverse, and he hated that.
Yep. It doesn't matter. And again, there's a hypothetical. Had he actually invaded the United States, like he did the Soviet Union, the people of the United States that had been overrun would have been treated exactly the same way as the Soviet Union citizens. You would have been treated horribly. You would have been starved. You would have been a slave for the Third Reich. You would have done what you're told because you're not a citizen. And he hated these countries because yes, they were everything he stood against, everything his ideology stood against.
Terms of a world war.
Yay, chatbot! good old Twitch standing up to its premise. It all these other platforms get rid of chatbots, but not Twitch.
Not Twitch. Yeah.
At least it's not a porn bot. I had those in the early days of Twitch.
Of a struggle for existence. And for him, this is something that triggers all his fantasies of annihilation and destruction.
Two things might be said about the Nazi Germans at the outset. First, they are out not only to conquer our world, but to smash it. Second, in attaining that goal, they will stop at nothing.
And my favorite, Bill
the enemy
Shire,
is to be annihilated.
Yes.
who we talked about last week. Yeah, so now he's back in the States.
I think my camera's looking a little laggy, so give me a second. Let me try to change something, but I'll keep playing it though.
Yeah.
Not only conquered, but wiped out. Vanquished from the stage
And
of
if you want to
history.
say something, I'm still here. I'll just pause
We're
it, okay?
fighting to avoid that fate for ourselves, to avoid being destroyed completely.
Oh my god, we're not even past the intro. Oh dear.
After he gets back to New York in December 1940, he publishes Berlin Diary. It's an eyewitness account of what happened in Germany.
No, we weren't past the intro.
I know.
A lot happened in that little intro segment.
Yeah, I thought they were going to talk more about Pearl Harbor, but I think that's the end of that topic.
Well, it's I think they were trying to encompass so much awful things happened during this time period, and I do
Yeah.
mean truly awful on so many parts of the globe that you probably could make 10 episodes about everything that happened, to be quite frank.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like this series. I wish it was more than just 6 episodes because yeah, this is the second to last one.
But he also stays with CBS. He's covering major events.
He had his own show. Radio was going gangbusters, and it was the preferred medium of entertainment and of news in the United States and really around the world. You turn on your radio in the evening after dinner or around the dinner table.
Why is the subtitles not on? I'm going to turn those back on since we've moved.
Because you switched them off.
I know, but when they were talking German, obviously there were subtitles, so I'm just going to keep them on regardless in case.
Yeah.
And there is Shira reporting what's happening in the war.
Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia tonight are fighting it out on a 2,000-mile front stretching from the Arctic Sea to the Black Sea.
That's
Germany
wild.
struck today against her late friend and helpmate with the same kind of lightning force which she unleashed on the Western Front a year ago. Seems destined to develop into the greatest war in history.
Can you imagine just hearing that broadcast? Like, you're just like, I don't know, like driving your car in the middle of somewhere, a little town in the middle of nowhere in America, and then all of a sudden you turn the radio on after like, the whatever. I don't remember any artist from the 40s that I like, but just something's playing on the radio, and then all of a sudden, like, emergency broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or like you're sitting at home, or like housewives cooking and turn the radio on. Like, that was probably the moment in another moment in history where the whole world just like stopped doing what they're doing and went, whoa, I'm always going to remember where I was and what I was doing in this moment in time.
Yeah, it's like you and I talked about. We talked about where we were during 9/11.
Yeah.
It's something that to this day that you and I both remember vividly where we were. So no, I mean that's the best comparison in modern history, I guess.
I had the same thing. Like, for me, there's 3 events. One was definitely 9/11. The second one was when Princess Diana died. And I remember where I was. I remember hearing the news on the radio. And then the third one was when Russia decided to go into Ukraine. I was actually sitting right here 3 years ago.
I don't remember the Princess Diana one that very vividly. I do remember it being breaking news. They're showing the car and stuff like that, and it's like I think our family was like watching TV, and it was obviously interrupted everything because it was breaking news. It was big
Yeah.
news. I think I could agree with those two because I remember when I remember the Russian invasion of Ukraine because it had been talked about so much beforehand about how and that NATO needed to ease up. And yes, I still agree to this day that this is a lot of NATO's fault because Vladimir Putin literally asked only for only a couple of things. It's really not that big of a deal, but NATO is kind of a relic in my opinion. I don't think that, and it's something that, of course, the United States pays the vast majority for. So it's
Yeah.
the citizens are taxed with that. But anyway, like when you have a weak world leader like we did at the time, who's like wishy-washy and he's not really trying to play diplomat between these two fronts. It's like, what do you, and also at the same time, you won't back down, right? You may not like the guy, but you gotta make peace with the man because he's still a world leader, and that goes with Kim Jong Un or the anybody from around the world. I don't care what leader it is. You got to make nice. You can't be like going, fuck that guy. It doesn't work. And so I remember where I was at too because it was something that I used to when I worked at the post office, I listened to podcasts religiously, kind of like I do when I still do some stuff for my second job.
Mhm.
And it was breaking news on Daily Wire. I was listening to Ben Shapiro at the time, and I was like, oh, and it was like, the hell are we doing? And I might actually add another one to that too, like when the pullout of Afghanistan that was so disastrous that it
Yeah.
that it was probably worse than Saigon.
Yeah,
Yeah, not
those scenes from what was happening was like people running down the runways, the plane like
yes.
grabbing that was awful.
They're grabbing onto the tires of a C-130 holding on.
Yeah.
It's insanity. I've seen the wheel wells of a C-130. You can't fit a human being inside of that. If you climb inside of that, thinking you're going to escape, you're going to get crushed to death.
Yeah, you're done.
So no, not great.
Yeah.
War sucks. It really sucks, and I wish that humanity would learn that. We'd all just play nice once in a while. All right. June 1941. Speaking of not playing nice.
What is so phenomenal about the German invasion of the Soviet Union in June 1941?
I don't think I would use phenomenal. I wouldn't use phenomenal. I would have used atrocious, horrible.
It hasn't even finished the sentence.
Sorry, I don't know. I didn't like that. Like because the invasion of anything is not phenomenal. Like
Yeah, but she's no.
I know. I didn't. Sorry.
Yeah.
Shh, Ryan, shush.
Mhm.
Is the sheer scale. Over 3 million men on the German side, massive air and military capability. What is remarkable about how unaware Stalin was is that he had received over 100 intelligence reports telling him that the invasion was imminent, and he thought that they were all fake intelligence and dismissed it. The German army brought in tanks, panzers, weapons. The Luftwaffe brought in thousands of planes. It was the greatest military campaign in the history of the world.
Which is why I think she used phenomenal, because not as in like in a positive way, but just it was a phenomenon that has never happened before in history.
Yeah. No, I understand.
You're just being picky. It's okay.
Yeah.
Usually that's my job on these streams, but
Somebody's been in the military when an invasion happens. A lot of good people, a lot of good
yeah.
kids die, and it's always kids.
Yeah, but she's an academic, and she probably writes papers like every day, so she's.
I know. Sorry, I'm nitpicking for once.
Yeah, you are.
It's really crucial to understand that Hitler's overall view was that this is a fundamentally different kind of war than any of the wars that the Nazis waged on the Western fronts.
He makes it very clear that this is a struggle between National Socialism and Marxism. He also means it in a racial sense. This is an insane ideological framing. For him, the ideology of world communism is an expression of the Jewish world spirit. And so the ideological struggle and the racial struggle for Hitler are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, and that's
Hitler,
what I
in
was
his briefing
saying
to his
before as well. With I mean, I'm not a Marxist or anything, but like even growing up, there was no, and like my mom, she grew up pretty much in the Soviet Union. My grandparents, other people I know, there was no divide. There was so much diversity. Everybody was equal: men, women, black person, Asian person. Everybody was just the same. There wasn't even like a thought in your head that somebody's different from you or has a different religion or different skin color or whatever. That was just not a thing. And that is one of the reasons why he hated the Soviet
Hey,
Union. Hi, Jacob.
hey, buddy, how's it going? He says, "Hey, Ryan and Anna, this is shocking." And I'm gonna make me full screen for this one because are you serious? We've been doing this for weeks. Gosh darn it, you can't see it. All right, so
Yeah.
all right, I'll back out then. We don't need to see my face that close. This is from Facebook. We removed your post. Why this happened? It looks like you shared or sent symbols, praise, or support of people and organizations we define as dangerous or followed them. It's literally it's literally our stream post, Legion Games 2076, my Facebook page, history channel, World War II, Third Reich, and then that's it. It has Anna's information. This goes against our community standards on dangerous individuals and organizations. Are you shitting me?
Wow, badge of honor. You're a dangerous organization now. Congratulations. This is great.
When the fuck did history become a dangerous thing?
Oh, it's Facebook. Who cares?
I know, but it's like, yeah, yeah, you misunderstood this post. I'll try to get it back up, but that's
just the algorithm. The AI is picking up on things and trying to. Yeah.
I know, but we haven't had this problem previously. It's weird. The closer we get to a certain thing, the worse the censorship gets.
Mhm.
All right, sorry,
It's great. I love it.
When did history become dangerous?
I don't know. Whatever. Those people are mental.
Yeah. What's up, Dempsey? Says hello, everyone.
Hi, Dempsey.
Dempsey, you're just in time for the censorship on Facebook. Yeah, that's okay. It's fine. I'll fight it. It doesn't matter. We're still live where it matters. At least YouTube, and we still have Twitter, right? YouTube's not being weird.
Generals says that what we will fight will be ein Vernichtungskrieg, will be a war of extermination. That's the term he uses. We eliminate all those who resist us and all those we see as our enemies, whether they resist us or not.
Great. I'll be updated in a few days. Thumbs up.
Operation Barbarossa, which was the German invasion of the Soviet Union, was arguably genocidal from the start. The ultimate end was to kill as many people as possible and make the survivors a sort of uneducated peasant class that would serve the German people.
The idea is that one army group would move through the Baltics and head to Leningrad. One army group would move through the center, through Belarus, and then on to Moscow. And the third would move into Ukraine and then go all the way to the Black Sea.
That's wild. I actually want to take that back to that previous map. Where is it? Yeah, right here.
Moscow, and the third would move into Ukraine and then go.
And I'm going to take the overlay off. Yes, Dempsey, it is also awesome to see you, man. Seriously, thanks for being here. That's insanity. That's insanity. Look at this. Like, holy smokes. I mean, the sheer landmass is insanity. But
Yeah.
I digress.
All the way to the Black Sea.
By the way, I'm sure a lot of people know this, but Leningrad is called what now? St. Petersburg.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, you caught me in.
Stalingrad is called what now? Volgograd. They changed for the river Volga. They changed after the fall of the Soviet Union, a lot of the references or city names were changed back to their imperial original names.
Sorry,
Mhm.
I'm trying to pull a team YouTube on Facebook. I doubt it's going to work. I was going to post and be like, "Hey, this is unacceptable. It's a history show."
Yeah,
Please
you can
fix
do it
this.
after though.
Oh, okay.
Casualties. This is one thing that the Wehrmacht experiences for the first time. They are encountering very heavy resistance by the Red Army.
Stalin's method of fighting is the tried and true Russian way of war. You just throw more men and material at the problem. And the Soviet Union is big enough and there are enough people for him to manage to do this.
Yep. But I mean, at the same time, that's kind of like you would expect if you have a massive country to throw everything when there's an invasion. You won't be sitting there and being like, look, I have all this manpower and I'm just going to hold back and see what happens. No, of course you're going to, everybody capable, everybody able, women and men, again, complete equality in the military.
Yeah. No,
Like
I mean,
saying it like it's a bad thing or something, like that there's something weird about it. I don't know.
yeah, she's saying it's weird. It's just her turn of phrase, unfortunately. Now I will admit, I will agree with her on a little bit of something.
Mhm.
The throwing a bunch of soldiers and a resource at something is not great in today's world. That's kind of how it had to be, though. Then you didn't have an option. It's not like we had drones in 1941, 1942. Like so that doesn't make sense. I think she's being critical for being critical's sake. But Dempsey says real quick, Why is my mouse not working? There it goes. I still think that if the Austrian artist had finished his campaign in the West before going after Russia, that I would be speaking German right now. He split his forces too early and spread himself too thin. He also says he fell victim to one of the classic blunders, the most famous of which is never get involved in a land war in Asia. I'm that's a sentiment I actually expressed last week. I would definitely agree with that. Still think they would have gotten a very, very tough resistance from, because again, the UK, the English were putting up one hell of a fight, and maybe they overrun the UK, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit, in my opinion, if you're going to invade the Soviet Union.
You can never overrun the English bulldog. No.
It's a hypothetical.
No, the English bulldog will overrun you.
English bulldog. I like that though.
Yes.
Well, the long and the short of it is that no, he didn't win. Had he achieved an atomic bomb, it'd have been a very different story. Been an ugly story, but anyway, not there on
Yeah,
HH either.
we'd all be living in vaults right now.
I don't want to live in a vault.
I wouldn't mind.
Eating, drinking Nuka-Cola and Blanco mac and cheese. Come on, I couldn't resist a Fallout reference. Jacob Ironside Dempsey. It would be like the show Man in the High Castle. That's an incredible show.
Yes, it is, and also a very good book by Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
Also, yeah.
Incredible.
The distance that needed to be covered proved to be overwhelming for the Germans. All of these highly mechanized tanks had trouble moving along poor Russian roads.
In September, the elements start coming into play. There is the mud period, what they call the Schlammperiode or the Rasputica. And then comes winter.
There are basically many times during the year where the roads are not passable. The winter of 1941 is one of the coldest on record, with meter-high masses of snow, horrendous temperature drops.
Hitler and the German leadership appealed to the German people to assist in the war effort by having a winter clothing drive and sending warm clothing to the front. Often it would be...
All right. Apparently, my complaining work, Facebook restored the post. It's a history show. I mean, hey, ain't nobody here, ain't nobody on this show praising the Nazis, right? Ain't nobody over here, nobody down there, nobody in the chat. So thank you, Facebook, for doing that. We appreciate that, seriously. It's just insanity that that we're doing this kind of stuff. Like, let's pump the brakes. So yeah, Dempsey says nice. Facebook almost never does that. That's true. Never does it that fast. So I'll give Facebook a lot of credit for the fact. I'll give Facebook a lot of credit for the fact that they restored that. So that was great. Why is the battery thing again? I think I might have a faulty cord on my soundboard or something, because it has an internal battery in case the power cord doesn't work. And this happened last time. I heard battery low. Anyway.
Yeah, it happened last week.
Yeah, I just had to jiggle it. So we'll watch this. I'll be right back. I'm gonna fix that.
And other objects that were not military clothing at all, in a desperate attempt to keep them warm.
Then in December 1941, the war changes completely. We could say, in retrospect, that the fortunes of Germany change.
There was a new note of confidence in the Russian communique today, hinting that the Red Army was going over to the offensive on a wide front. Hitler's failure to destroy Russian resistance by winter constitutes the greatest setback he's received in this war by far. He's lost his great battle with time.
The Germans not only failed to take Moscow,
Apparently that didn't work. I'll
but
be
the
right
Red
back.
Army counterattacks and pushes the German army about 100 kilometers, 60 miles west. The Germans get stuck there, having sustained about 1 million casualties. So about a third of the German force that entered the Soviet Union had become casualties. That is clearly the moment at which the Blitzkrieg is over.
Operation Barbarossa ground to a halt. The generals didn't know what to do. They started having heart attacks, nervous breakdowns. They looked to Hitler for leadership.
Some of the German generals want to carry out a strategic retreat and to shorten the length of the line that they have to.
All right. I missed a whole bunch. I
You've
actually,
muted the, yeah.
I've muted.
Yeah, there's no sound.
Oh no, I paused it.
Oh, because it was still playing and there was no sound.
Really?
Yep.
That's weird.
Of course, everybody's heard of Napster. If you were born before the 90s, you used to use Napster.
Dude, I love the shit out of Napster. Dempsey says I got a ban on Facebook for posting me about Mickey Mouse poking his eyes out with the caption.
ICQ, yes, ICQ, Andy. I used to love that. Whenever you got a message, it was so annoying.
ICQ and I don't know what that is. Maybe I do.
Well, MSN Messenger.
Oh no, I never did that. Look, I was super cool. I did AOL. You've got mail. Only boomers use Facebook. Yes. No, I know.
Yes, it is, Dempsey. Yes, it is. Yep.
No, I trust me. I get you on that one. I had a MySpace too. I miss MySpace. We treated Tom so horribly.
Yeah.
What were we doing? Red Water, welcome. As Anna said earlier, Vanguard bought 100,000 million shares of Facebook just before the really. Ugh. Andy, loved my MySpace for the music playlist. Yeah, you could actually, when people went to your page, it would actually have like a song that would play. That was really awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, right. MySpace is greater than modern social media. Luckily. So, and of course, Redwater says, "Hell, Anna." Anna says, "I still have a MySpace. I think I do too, but like a lot of my photos and videos are deleted, so I can't really access a lot of stuff that I used to have. I think it's
I
slowly
wouldn't
like
even know how to access it. I think it's like basically you can't even do anything. If you had an account, you can't even get into it.
yeah. No, I've actually been into my account, and there's so many photos that are literally gone.
Internet never needed to see.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I think that anybody who is, using MySpace as a teenager would not want those photos that, used to take stupid photos as a kid.
Yeah. So,
yeah, exactly.
Anna's right. So I got a MySpace right before I joined the military, and I got a little camera. It was basically a digital camera. Ooh, it's fancy. It was a digital camera that I used to take everywhere when my friends and I would hang out. We'd go do karaoke, we'd do this stuff, and I was a part of the origination, probably the selfies. Yeah. And just like clink, you'd have to hold the camera like this to hit the button.
Mustang, it's so good to see you.
Dude, I have not seen you in forever.
I know. What's up?
Good to see you, man.
He says, Anna, присоединяйся к нам на море. I don't know Moria. Are you talking about the game, or are you talking about something else? Is it a co-op? Is it on Steam? It's Lord of the Rings. But I would love to.
Dempsey says, I would love to see those. Yeah. So Anna and I actually dug up my old wrestling videos. And I don't know, maybe one of these days, Anna and I'll watch them on stream or something. Not this one because it's history, but and I'll cower and hide from shame because I hate watching me. Because Anna's like, I want to see those. And I'm like, going, yeah, I know. Mustang said, tornado doing so much work in the area and to the home. Hey, that's good, man. Yeah.
Stay safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Tornadoes are no joke. They're worse than a hurricane.
Mm.
They're worse than a
Yeah,
hurricane.
but this is Mustache Man, not tornado country.
I don't know. Have you ever seen that show from Discovery called Storm Chasers? Good show. Very good show. Real quick, and then we'll go back. Return to Mario game. Me, Grump, and Wolfie. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Overlay. Sorry, we're gonna look weird again. Here we go.
To defend.
Hitler orders the army to stay put, not to retreat. And in his mind, this is what ultimately stopped the Soviet advance.
Okay, I have to highlight this. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the movie Twister? Yes. It's the
I thought yeah, he or she. I'm sorry. I don't know who you are, but I was gonna say, is there a movie called Twitter about how Elon Musk takes over?
No. There's only one Twister movie, and quite frankly, Twisters doesn't exist.
Yes, we were talking about Twister, the '96 movie with Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton the other day as I was watching the remake Twisters.
Which Anna didn't care for.
No, did not.
Yeah, there's only one Twister.
Yes.
All right. Sorry. Even the guys at work make fun of me because, like, they talk about the movie Twisters. They're like, yeah, well, it was kind of entertaining. I kind of liked it. I'm like going, oh, here we go. And they're like, sir, you watch your horrible tongue.
Yeah.
He came more and more to believe that the generals, they were cowards, even traitors.
And he decided to declare himself the supreme commander of the army. He thought the stakes were so high, and he thought so highly of himself as a grand strategist, that he thought that no one else could do this task.
I didn't know that. It's wild. Love those movies.
Wissen Sie, Herr Feldmarschall, ob auch andere militärische Führer Differenzen mit Hitler gehabt haben?
Von 17 Feldmarschällen, die dem Heere angehörten, nur ein einziger Feldmarschall hat den Krieg in seiner Stellung, des Feldmarschall des Heeres, hat den Krieg in seiner Stellung überdauert.
Aha.
Alle diese Führer waren militärisch hochqualifizierte Offiziere, sondern sie wurden weggeschickt, weil Hitler ihnen misstraute.
Glaubten Sie, aufgrund der militärischen Gehorsamspflicht alles mit ansehen bzw. mitmachen zu müssen?
Militärische Gehorsamspflicht ist an sich ganz zweifellos bindend und unteilbar. Ein Recht zum Ungehorsam oder eine Pflicht zum Ungehorsam, möchte ich sagen, gibt es an sich für den Soldaten nicht.
Right. So, okay. Yeah. All right. So that's an interesting, very, I wouldn't say it's a moral dilemma. It's kind of like, yes, okay, chain of command, you don't want to disobey. And I think this topic has been brought up in a lot of aspects of the military where it's like, you know, if your commanding officer tells you to go and shoot all these civilians, you know, but today I think there are protocols and things in place which you can actually go through if you're feeling like that this is not the moral thing to do or the right thing to do. Whereas back then that was completely absent.
Yeah.
It's like you don't step out of line, you disobey, you're going to be stripped, your family's you're not going to get any money to be able to support your family, you're going to be ridiculed. And this doesn't just go for Nazi Germany, this goes for the Soviet Union too. It was the same thing. There was a lot of people who were deserting and didn't want to fight in the war, and therefore, you know, even to this day or like many years later, their families were ridiculed. They were called traitors. Nobody wanted to hire you, you know. So, but that is interesting that they're using this as a defense. Like, I was told to do something, so I did it, because this is the way it worked in the military at that time. You don't disobey.
Yeah. So it literally is what they're doing. I was just following orders. I had to follow orders.
And
And
yes, sorry, Mustang is asking. It is the Nuremberg trials. Yes.
yeah, I was gonna get to that. Dempsey also said, I met an elderly vet one day at a store. We thanked him for his service, and he regaled us with the story of how he was a code breaker. It was
Awesome.
wild. Yes. So, and of course, this is what Anna responded to. It had to have been 15 or more years ago. It's a long time.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry.
It's
Yes.
really, yeah, it's really sad. Just a quick thing to say that in a couple of years, none of the people are going to be alive anymore to tell those stories. None of the people that went through all of this, like in our lifetime, they're all going to be gone. And all
Mhm.
we're going to be left with is footage, history books, and people like us continuing to raise awareness and remember what they did during that time. So, just a sad little note. I'm preparing everybody for the very emotional parts. Slowly getting there, you know.
Well, I think as long as you know, you and I and people like us continue to tell these stories because they need to be told,
Yeah.
that I think history will live on, because as human beings, we have to remember history. It's it's something that I don't understand the current world and the way it runs, but history seems to be this fleeting thing. I'm like, you will just, you know, let it go. It's fine. Unless it's a certain topic. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, it's history is important. It's how we grow as human beings. And so yeah. Yeah, Andy, sorry to hear that, man. Yeah, my grandfather is actually the reason that I joined the army. I am the only one in our family that actually served after he did, and that's why my grandmother actually gave me his the flag draped over his casket. You know, and I have it in a, and of course, you know, a box. So anyway, get this is a serious episode. Yeah.
A lot of people thought that following orders was a legitimate defense. But I think that
In the U.S. Army today, no. No, if you know an order is wrong, it's morally wrong, you can deny it. Even as an E1 and an E7 is screaming in your face, be like going, no, Sergeant, I won't do it.
Mhm.
And if it comes to light and you're right, that yeah, no, so I think this is where that came from. That, you know, you can deny a morally wrong order.
the prosecution really made the compelling case that in this war, which was clearly a war of extermination, where these orders were to like wipe out entire peoples and commit mass atrocities, that there was no viable defense of following orders.
It's very important to realize that Hitler wasn't too concerned about the Western
Welcome,
Front.
Gnome. Not
From
sure
the
what that
moment
means,
that
but
he
welcome.
invaded the Soviet
Hi,
Union
Gnome.
to the end of the war, there's never less than 2/3 of the German armed forces are engaged on the Eastern Front. This is always the main theatre of war for Hitler.
Apart from the war in the West, Germany is fighting two wars once it invades the Soviet Union. One war is the military war. The other is the war against the Jews.
Hitler goes in with very much this idea of racial annihilation, racial cleansing from the very beginning. And to this end, he has created things called Einsatzgruppen. These are special killing squads that are invented specifically for the hunting down and murder of civilians. There is no other purpose for them.
The commanders of these murder squads were people who came not from the dregs of society, as we'd like to think, but were people who had academic degrees. They were young men. They were dedicated to their task. So the idea was cool, rational killing of people we had identified as the enemies of the people, of the folk, of the nation, and of the race.
In
Sure
Poland, they're
sounds
first
familiar.
used against this intelligentsia, against the elite, and they're specifically used against the Jewish populations.
This has been termed by some the Holocaust by bullets. Because it happens across Soviet territory in almost all cities and towns where there are sizable Jewish populations.
The killings moved from the killing of men, mostly men, to killing of entire Jewish populations. And the most distinct example of that is what happens in September 1941 in Kiev.
She used to be part of the Soviet Union.
Yes, it did. We will get there. History is meaningless if it's a lie. True. Germans took tens of thousands of Jewish refugees from the Eastern Front, and the Ukraine polls too. When was this?
I don't know.
I don't either. Hold on. Hitler invaded Poland after the murder of tens of thousands of ethnic Germans living within the post-World War I borders. I'll have to look into that. Mustang says, Ryan, the morally wrong came out of Vietnam when a unit wiped out a village, believed that it was 67 or 68. Does he mean percent or year? Could be easily be or 67 or 68.
Oh, year. Yeah, or.
Andy Pickle, same here. My grandpa and three uncles, they're all passed. Andy says, this is an argument against tribalism, treat people as individuals, and not as an ethnicity. A lesson many today haven't learned. Yeah, there's only one race. I'm going to say this, and we're going to move on to the episode. There's one race, the human race. That's it, period.
Yeah, we all bleed the same color, right? So
yeah, pretty much. We're all made of the same thing. It's why
dividing people. Yeah, dividing people by the like putting things into boxes is a good way to turn communities and societies into sheep for you to follow whoever it is in charge so they can fulfill their dream of power and money and whatever. So that's why I always say history is important, because there are empirical facts and then there are secondary facts. But it's always up to you to use your mind and your critical thinking. Even when you're reading a book and you might, hear or read about something and you're like, I want to read more about, I think Mustang was talking about the Battle of the Bulge. Like, I don't know anything about it. Let me go and actually learn more about this or learn more about that. Like, don't expect to be fed the information by those who want you to think or feel a certain way. Use your head. We all have it. It's in there. Gray matter.
Yep. Wade says I'm headed. See you, Wade. Thank you for being here, dude. Seriously, Wade's awesome.
Thank you, Wade.
He says out at least to talk. I want to talk after the show. Yeah, absolutely. Anna will let me know what. Andy says, agreed, Ryan. The human race. If you want to be xenophobic, watch Independence Day. Yes, yes. I love that movie. Will Smith, Jeff Goldblum. Like, are you serious? And one of the best presidential speeches in the history of the world that didn't actually come from actual politics. Bill Pullman. So Dempsey says, I am only two things, blessed and American. It is blessed to be an American, but there are a lot of other places on this planet that I want to visit. So because I think the world's a special place. I really do. And Mustang says, Jesus, your memory is good. We talked about that over a year ago.
Right. Yeah.
Her memory is incredible. Mine not so much. So yeah.
Yes. That Wade, I will remind Ryan. Don't worry. It's all good.
Jacob says, exercise those gray cells, people. Yes, seriously. Seriously. The brain is a good thing.
The Germans conquer Kiev. And then the Soviets evacuate the city.
The Soviets have left behind bombs operating on timers, and the explosions begin to go off in the buildings the Germans have occupied.
The Germans retaliate, but not against the Red Army soldiers. They retaliate by calling upon all the remaining Jewish population, 33,000 men, women, and children, to assemble, and those people are led to a ravine.
Мы нас впереди.
Voice of Dina Ponicheva, Babin Yar massacre survivor.
Dina Pronicheva.
Okay.
Oh, funny. Sounds almost like my granddad's last name.
Я сообразила, что здесь грозит расстрелом. А может быть, не дойду еще до расстрела, убьют. И прошла палочный бой. Меня тоже били, как и всех. Но я прошла гордо. Я не упала. Нас выставили на очень маленьком выступе, в котором едва можно было удержаться. Я только видела, что всех устраивали почти в одну шеренгу. Я уткнулась глазами. Я не могла видеть всего дерзко происходившего в моих глазах. Стали всех расстреливать. Открыла глаза, сжала кулаки, напрягла все мускулы и бросилась вниз, долго и скрыла. Но я упала на трупы, благополучно, не расстрелянная.
In the end, over 30,000 human beings lie dead in the ravines
Babin
of
Yar.
Babin Yar.
Yeah. Yeah. Babin Yar is Baba in Russian means kind of like woman, but usually referred to in a very peasant-like way. Oj, pashla baba, like, oh, look, there goes that, like, cowgirl peasant chick kind of person. You know, it's or baba is somebody who's like um an older woman who wears the headscarf and it, like, you know, milks cows. Like, you call her a baba. Like, it's not very nice to refer to a woman, but at the same time, it's very engraved into like Russian folklore and Slavic folklore. Like, that's where the term Baba Yaga, which we all, after watching The Witcher, Mustang, you included, they had the hag living in the forest in the house with on chicken legs. Like, she's a Baba. She's not like a beautiful woman. She's like, oh, whatever. So yeah, and yeah, over 2 days, 1941, in that part of Ukraine, they murdered all those people. Just like I don't know what kind of, it's not even peer pressure or wanting to follow orders. Like, I would physically, I would not be able to do it.
Nope.
And like, please actually shoot me, because I would rather be shot than shoot these people. There's no way in hell that I would ever agree to do something like that.
Honestly, if I was told to do that, I would say no. And if my commanding officer told me you're to shoot now or you'll be shot, I'd turn my rifle on him. I'd literally bury it in his chest and blow his heart out. And
All
then, of
right,
course,
all right, all right. Don't. It's
it's
already
just,
hard enough. Yes, I know.
it's so ugly. I couldn't do it.
Yes, Andy, Baba Yaga. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is awful. It's awful.
It's horror beyond our imaginations.
Через некоторое время, когда стрельба умолкла, я услыхала, что немцы спускаются вниз, в яр, и расстреливают всех, полностью. Я лежала тихо, не шевелясь. Я набрала воздух, собралась с последними силами и выбралась из-под земли.
Yeah, that was very difficult to listen to.
Yeah, it was. Also, if I were on the other side of it, I would charge a guy with a rifle and try to go out fighting. I wouldn't. I mean, that'd probably be very stupid. What she did was very intelligent. She just jumped.
As a child as well, like,
Yeah, it's fucking insane.
I actually like when I did watch this episode today, like I was saying before when we started, I had to pause it because I had to like go and like really like calm down, because I felt like I was gonna start getting emotional, you know. And so thank God I actually watched it before, because I knew what to expect. Because if that was the first time, you know, me hearing her account and, you know, talking in Russian, like being so close to home, I would have like been crying all over the place right now. But yeah.
Yeah, that's a rough one. It's so ugly. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on
I
it.
wish to call as a witness for the prosecution, Mr. Otto Ollendorf.
Oh yes.
This is the part that irritated.
What, their
So-
demeanor?
Yes, because again,
I wish to
after the
call as a
fact,
witness for the prosecution, Mr.
Yeah, look at Goring. Look at him. Look at Hess. Well, Hess was pretending like he was mentally ill the whole time, which is why they put him on suicide watch, and he didn't get the death penalty. But look at Goring. Look at his little smirk.
He's like, what you gonna do?
And the whole trial, which lasted for months, he was always sitting there, like putting his, chin up high and acting like he's above all of this, and all of this has nothing to do with me, and I'm just so like, and putting his sunglasses on and like trying to ignore the testimonies and the evidence. What, like, oh.
And he continued to wear his military uniform, even though he was stripped of every single rank, and every single ribbon he ever had, because the Allies said, you know what, dude? No, you don't get nothing. You're a nobody. You're a war criminal. And they stripped him of everything, and yet he still wore this every single day. Every video we've seen, he's wearing this.
I mean, that is pure evil.
Yeah, I agree.
Evil. Like if you look, they're all evil, but he just, his stature and the way he looks, if evil ever had a face, like, oh, I hate him so much.
Yeah, he was if Hitler is the epitome of evil, that face, Goering and a lot of the higher ups, they really know how to work that attitude. I don't know that I don't know what to call it. It's just evil. And I said it right. It's evil.
Otto Ollendorf. Otto Ollendorf.
Otto Ollendorf was the leader of Einsatz Group D, and typical of many who had risen to eminence in Himmler's SS, a university graduate with a doctorate in jurisprudence, an intellectual, a brilliant economist. He had served most of the war overseeing surveillance for the Reich Security Main Office. But for 1 year, he had taken on an assignment away from the capital.
Do you know how many persons were liquidated by Einsatz Group D under your direction?
Vom Juli 1941 bis Juni 1942 sind von den Einsatzkommandos etwa 90.000 als liquidiert gemeldet worden.
Did that include men, women, and children?
Jawohl.
Did you personally supervise mass execution of these individuals?
Ich bin bei zwei Massenhinrichtungen inspektionsweise dabei gewesen. Also nicht der. К какой категории вы относили детей?
Real quick, Andy says, and shout out to the fact that this filter is working. So I might try 30% and see what happens. I don't know. Andy says that the showers in the concentration camps were an attempt at a more effective method, a dark time. Yeah, one of the most heinous in histories. Andy also says there are stories of human excellence in the face of atrocities. Yes, that's what the two things that I think human beings do the best is love and hope. When human beings love, we can do so much. That's not just a love between a man and a woman, but maybe a group of friends or something like that, or your family. You step up and rise to the occasion because you love that person. But a runner in Austin escaped the Rwandan ugliness. He was locked in his school, which was set on fire. He lived and escaped after running. Mustang Rice says, having been to Auschwitz, they knew that they had to, at least the entire upper party members. Yeah. No,
yeah.
I've been to a concentration camp. It's if you've been around, let's just say if you've been around death, it has a smell. And this was a smaller concentration camp, but it just, you could still smell it. Dempsey, your streaming condom is working. It is at 40%. I might try 30% to see, because it's not a huge difference, and see, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I'm going to try 30%. If the stream goes down, bear with me. We'll go back to 40, and we found the sweet spot. So I just wanted to highlight those while Anna was doing some stuff real quick.
Мотивом истребляли детей. Es war ja der Befehl.
So this is one of the, again, to point out, there were a lot of different prosecutors teams from the States, Russia, Soviet Union, France, and Great Britain. And this is the Soviet prosecutor talking to him.
Yeah, no, and there's some shining examples from the Nuremberg trials. Of course, there was an American prosecutor that Anna previously, had talked about, and
Justice, God, what's his first name? Something Roberts. He delivered the end statement.
Yeah.
Closing argument, which was like, go look it up. It's so good. Very on point.
You can watch the whole entire Nuremberg trials, the actual footage on YouTube. Anna has said this numerous times. I recommend you do so because the gravity of this. Obviously, this is a reenactment, which is very good. But
Justice Robert Jackson.
Okay.
He was the way when he was delivering his argument. He had like a bow tie, and he looked very like not imposing, but very human at the same time. Like everything that he was saying, it was a very, very long closing argument, but hit every nail. Like, wow.
Yeah. No, they weren't taking it easy, and they shouldn't have, because this is obviously an atrocious period in time. And of course, Mustang said, no, not end stream. Jesus, what the heck? I hit comments. There are no words, no pictures, nothing I can think of to describe what I saw. Yeah, the rest of it you can read for yourself. But no, it's got a feeling, and it's gross. It's weird.
Только ли детей евреев уничтожали? Jawohl. Jawohl.
These mass executions are horrific and gruesome. And so they use alcohol to compensate. They are very frequently drunk during the shootings. They are almost invariably drunk after the shootings.
We talked about this last week. Yeah.
Just for the record, me being drunk to try to shoot somebody would make me more emotional, not less. Because I'm kind of like one of those dudes, like, where when you get a little abbreviated, like, and yes, I said that for a reason, because it was a joke from a long time ago. My friend was drunk and he said abbreviated instead of inebriated. But anyway, it's like I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'd be less likely to shoot somebody. Are you kidding me? Like,
right.
I wouldn't want to shoot somebody regardless who's innocent. That's just heinous, but. Yeah, I mean, that also kind of tells you too that some of these dudes didn't want to do it, even though they did it. They shouldn't have. Not excusing what they did.
It's a coping mechanism. Nazi leadership, Himmler in particular, was concerned for the mental well-being of the SS, who were having to shoot these people.
How was he now? Why make him do it then?
It's a great question. Yes, also at the same time, Anna makes a great point. Masters of the Air was really good. That was a great show.
Yeah.
And she's the one who told me about that. Watch that. That's very, very good. Dempsey, I would have been a victim, not a perpetrator. Couldn't imagine that. Yeah. No, like I said, even if I was wearing a uniform, I would have pushed back.
This shows the perversity of the moral priorities that the Nazis have. They acknowledge that this is emotionally traumatic, but only for the killers.
It's mass murder on a scale that has never been seen before. The death toll is astronomical. It's estimated that around 1.5 million people were murdered in this way.
Jesus Christ.
Heinrich Himmler, once in the field, was shown an execution of 100 Jews.
Supposedly, Himmler turns green because some brains splattered onto his uniform. And after this is over, he feels very sick. He then goes to talk to the Einsatzgruppen that have put on this demonstration for him. He's told, look, you see, it's only 100 people who've been killed, and look at how difficult it is.
This is one of the things that drives the Germans to shift from executions of Jews by way of shooting them, and they start looking for more efficient ways of carrying out mass murder.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, "Hey, this is wrong. Let's not do this." What the hell
How
were we
can
thinking?
we do this better so it doesn't actually like play on my
Yeah.
conscience and like, yeah. No, you can't. No. That was a decision that you made as the head of the SS. But like again, I'll get into it. Like he says some very things that are he's trying to absolve himself by later on talking to some of the party members and the way he describes what happens. It's sick.
It
We're
is sick.
sick people.
Hey, Beef, what's up, man?
Hey,
Sorry,
Beef.
very serious episode. You kind of came in at a very serious part. This whole episode has been very, very serious and
Mhm.
very, very ugly. To back to history, though. Yeah, Dempsey, I feel you on that one. Feel on that one. So yeah, turning a firearm, even pointing one at somebody who you might have to pull the trigger is not great.
Yeah.
And that's even in defense of your life or somebody else. But this is not that. This is heinousness.
Around Christmas time of 1941, we see a shift towards what we have come to now know as the final solution, the mass extermination of the Jewish population.
Hitler's leadership style really played into the way in which he set a direction for the Holocaust. He always wanted to avoid having documented orders from him that could be traced back in the event that some policy decision became unpopular.
He basically gave verbal orders, met with people, talked, and didn't leave a written trail that would be there for historians to follow.
However, we know that the whole genocidal machine would not have gone in the direction that it went without Hitler.
Hitler essentially puts Reinhard Heydrich in charge of planning this or conceptualizing this sort of mass killing.
He was really the evil genius behind so many things that are going to become the Holocaust.
Reinhard Heydrich is Himmler's second in command.
He
was known as
okay, this is a really weird thing to say, but out of all of them, this guy, literally, I hate the most. Not even Goring. I hate him too. I hate all of them. But this dude was just so evil. He wasn't even trying to excuse himself. Well, I can't really say that, but he did get assassinated and in the end died. But they called him the man with an iron heart, or like man that has no heart, basically. And there's a really good film actually with a 2000 either 17 or whatever film, it's available on Netflix right now, where it's his story, and he was just cold. He had no emotions. He didn't care about anything but rising to power and really hating on the Jews and other people. He was just so brutal and awful and horrible, and like, thank God that, he did perish the way he deserved to, because that dude is just, no.
Yeah, he's He's a very heinous person. Mustang says Josef Mengele might have been the most evil of the evil, in my opinion. He's definitely very much up there. And also, one of the most heinous facts about what he did is that modern medicine probably wouldn't be
Yeah.
some of the positions that it is because of what he did unwillingly to unwilling participants. He did willingly to unwilling participants of Jewish people. He's like, I'm going to see what happens if you do this. I'm going to see what happens if a person can survive and you remove their heart. How long will they live? Like he did heinous things to people, to tens of thousands, maybe even more. I don't know. So no, dude sucks.
Oh
That just
yeah,
is-
Unit 731 is the Japanese one, right, Dempsey? The one that they had in Japan when they were experimenting on Chinese Red Army fighters, which was also atrocious.
Yeah, no, the Japanese and the Chinese were, yep. Yeah, the Japanese and the Chinese were not friends, which is one reason that when Doolittle's raid, their target was to bomb Japan, bomb Tokyo, and to move on and land safely in China, because China was friendly to the U.S. and not Japan, because Japan was the aggressor. So, I'm going to play this real quick. I'm going to take 20 seconds and use the bathroom, and I'll be right back. So, Anna, if something comes up, I'll be right back really quick, okay?
Okay.
Most Aryan-looking top Nazi official, much more than Himmler or Eichmann or Hitler or Goering or Goebbels. Quite ruthless and a good organizer, and apparently very loyal to Himmler.
The goal is that Jews are to disappear not by expulsion and decimation, but by total systematic mass murder. Then the question is, how does this get disseminated to the rest of the German government? That's the purpose of the Wannsee Conference.
The Wannsee Conference is a conference which was convened by Reinhard Heydrich with his deputy Adolf Eichmann amongst the high officials of the Third Reich in order to effectively get their collaboration. The Wannsee Villa is a beautiful villa on this lovely shore of the Lake of Wannsee in Berlin. Lovely fireplace and chandeliers, and there's a big, huge table, and a huge buffet has been set out, and Heydrich and Eichmann have made sure that very good wines and cognacs are available. So the atmosphere is very jovial, it's very warm, and yet the actual content of the discussion is absolutely chilling to the bone.
Well, it starts with a Heydrich monologue in which he says, up until last fall, we had been dealing with the Jewish question through emigration, which of course means expulsion and decimation.
Heydrich says, we here all agree that from this day forth, we are going to go and comb Europe from west to east and find every Jewish man, woman, and child, and we're going to transport them to camps where they will be killed.
Hitler made the decision to send the Jews to the east, and that is underway. They now have to accept Heydrich's leadership and to participate.
The SS, in order to implement this huge project, they're going to need the cooperation of these various ministries and other officials. They can't run it on their own. They need help with
Imagine sitting there and listening to this, me like going, yeah, that's a great idea. I like that. I'm going to help with that. Like, I can't imagine that all these people were on board, like going, yeah, that sounds like a
No,
great
they
idea.
weren't. That's why there was a conspiracy plot to assassinate Hitler.
Yes.
Because at a certain point, they were like, no, this is going too far.
Also, like, I did see this. And he says, we understand that T Swift isn't on bucket duty. Do what you got to do, Ryan. Yeah. And Anna says, finally, after nearly a year, she is off the screen, Andy. I try to keep her off the stream for the History Channel. So, but my bad, the little thumbnail thing I have to change. Give me a second.
Oh my god.
What? I'm changing it. See, look, it's better. It's so much.
Baby steps, everyone. Baby steps.
I don't know if Taylor will ever truly go away. Might be one of the greatest memes ever.
Hmm.
I mean, Kenzo did it.
I know, and go check Kenzo UK out. He's brilliant. He's great.
Yeah,
Even I think he is like, what?
Probably to this day, I might get a message one day, be like, dude, why are you still using that?
Yeah, to make you a
All
new
right.
one, dude.
I should ask him to make a new one.
Hmm.
He's very, very talented, extremely talented.
Trains, they need help with financial management.
Heydrich was worried. Would they go along? It turned out, of course, that they fell all over each other, competing to be more cooperative and trying to be helpful. So having discussed murdering 11 million Jews in Europe, they then get up from the table and go to serve themselves at the buffet.
I mean, the level
Heydrich was
of
so pleased that he did something he'd never done before, like when he sat down and had cognac.
how you need to completely be like an abstract space of mind and compartmentalize what you're feeling, what you're thinking, your morals, your values. After discussing killing millions of people, you're going to go and have the appetite to eat? I can't even, like, when I watch a film, which is a fictional film, and my favorite character dies, or like an animal is killed, like in John Wick, I can't eat. Not like I'll put my popcorn down even. I'm not gonna be like sitting there like, yeah, let's do it. No, like I have empathy. Do these people, like, the level of disassociating themselves from what is morally kind of like in society to make society function, what is morally the right thing to do, and what is like how they flipped it. And I wouldn't be, I'd probably throw up all over them. Sorry, I would. It's disgusting. And it's so interesting how, like, it only took from the 1930s to now 1941, and the shift in ideology and people changing their morals and their way of thinking happened so fast. And there are things happening today which are similar, not exactly the same, but people's ideologies are promoting things which are just insane. Everybody's just sitting back and going, yeah, okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, whatever. No, it isn't. Mutilating children is not okay. It wasn't okay in the 40s in concentration camps. It's not okay now. Like, there are so many parallels that you can see, and yeah, like, it's, ugh.
It's exactly that. It's ugh. It's gross. That's what it is. It's 100% gross.
And a cigar. They celebrated because everybody had fallen into line enthusiastically.
The authorities in German-occupied Poland started construction of 6 extermination camps.
There is an evolution of the camps as they get bigger and more sophisticated. Auschwitz then is the technological apex of the evolution of the death camp.
Auschwitz I is a camp that actually has brick buildings and barracks built with kilns.
So heinous.
Auschwitz-Birkenau is sited about 3 kilometers from the original camp complex, and that is a massive territory.
Auschwitz was the size of a city. The whole entire complex. They kept adding on to it and adding on and adding on.
Yeah.
It was the size of a city. It was enormous.
Yeah.
And it, yeah, it's not great. it was the size of a city, the whole entire complex, by the time they were done, and by the time the Allies invaded and liberated these camps, Auschwitz was the size of a small city. It might actually probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of about 2/3 the size of where I live right now. That's how big it was, which is not still super big, but for what it was for, is enormous and gross. Heinous, just absolutely heinous.
Were rudimentally erected barracks. There are no facilities, no sewage system, no infrastructure of any kind besides delousing facilities. And later on, crematoria are being built in order to serve as a killing center for Jews deported from all over Europe.
From the moment you got there, all morality that you thought you understood in the world was turned on its head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The conditions are unspeakable. People are crammed into barracks that have no ventilation, no heating. In the summer, it's exceedingly hot and sticky, with people sleeping often in their own excrement.
Yep.
Labor details still take place in a place like Birkenau, and then excessive fear, because everyone who is not possible to perform labor assigned to them makes themselves subject to potential selection. And
yeah, basically, if you're able to work, you're kind of safe. But at the same time, if you are sleeping in horrible conditions in the cold with, disease and obviously, people sorry, I'm going to be honest, shedding themselves and vomiting and everything, you're going to get sick. A lot of people were not able to work, not because they were physically not able, just because you're not being fed, you're also sick. So to me, it's seeing people, not one person, two people, 300, but thousands of people going through that. And you, as somebody who is doing your rounds as a guard in this camp, you're not going to feel a certain way, like, what are we doing here? Why am I doing this?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to see if I can find a map to show the size of it. And of course,
yeah, Mustang. Yeah. Like, and I think also Mustang said something about that every person, like, before they actually graduate, needs to go and visit maybe a concentration camp or two.
I agree. I agree. There you go. This is the whole entire encompassing complex.
Yeah, they had separate prisoner of war camps.
Yep.
There's also footage also released by the Soviets and the Americans when they liberated a camp which had US and Soviet soldiers, which was even in a way worse, because they were fighting against you. If you go, and put somebody in a camp because of their ethnicity, that's one thing. If you're actually capturing a prisoner of war, you torture them on purpose, you do everything to, like, put them down so you can feel good about yourself. It's awful to see and they actually took, during the Nuremberg trials, some of those assholes to some of the camps. And some of the Nazis that they captured after Berlin fell, they took them to POW camps, which still had the bodies right there of all the people who died. And all of them were so disgusted, just like Himmler in that reenactment video. I was like, oh my God, I got blood all over me. Like, they were walking around being like, oh, this is horrible. And, like, the people were like, no, you have to look. This is what you did. And they're like, no, I can't look, no, I can't look. And then some were just standing there completely emotionless, like no feelings, no expression. This is a study in like humankind. It's never going to change. There will always be people who are heinous and will do evil things, but then there are also people who will do good and who will be brave and sacrifice themselves. And at the end of the day, your choice which one you want to be. But everybody needs to be aware of this. I don't want it to all of a sudden disappear. For social media to ban discussions about it. It's so important to keep this alive because we're going in circles. We're doing the same thing. And I'm ranting right now because, Ryan, you're looking at a map.
No, I was actually looking for the photos of me actually going to said concentration camp. Apparently they're on my previous external hard drive, which the USB connector crapped out, so I need to get it fixed. But it would have been a good thing to show on the stream because I went as basically a 19-year-old kid, and it was in Belgium, and it was a small one, but it was so heinous because, quite frankly, they had documented the history of everybody they went through. There were records, and they still had the records, and they displayed them for every single person who was killed there. And it was really gross. So no, I was trying to look that up. I thought I had more photos on Facebook. I guess it was maybe MySpace at the time because I did have a MySpace at then, but so no, I didn't.
Okay.
But no. It's ugly. I don't like it.
Gas.
Prior to Auschwitz, the Germans experiment with various forms of gassing, first with gas fans.
Yep. That episode of Hunting Hitler's Coming, talking about an individual who we'll get there, who invented the mobile gas van. Yeah. So you could gas Jews on the road. Top notch.
And then eventually with stationary gas chambers.
There were 4 killing facilities. In Auschwitz, the killing occurred with cyanide pellets, which would be thrown into the gas chambers from the top, and those pellets then dissolve and create deadly gas.
Yep.
People would be clawing all over each other, trying to crawl up as high as they could get to find what little fresh air was remaining since the poison gas was coming up from the floor. It would take 10, 20 minutes for people to die. They're slowly asphyxiating, they're crying, they're vomiting. It's a horrific, awful.
Of the estimated 6 million Jews who were murdered in the Holocaust, around 1 million of them were killed at Auschwitz.
Mass killing has happened much more often than we'd like to think, before and after the Holocaust. But this kind of industrial killing, where you create factories whose purpose is transporting people by trains from all across the continent for the purpose of gassing and cremating them and making them just vanish, is and remains unique to the Holocaust.
It was at the Nuremberg trial that I at last learned about the final solution, the diabolical plan of Hitler, carried out so ruthlessly by Heydrich and Himmler. A good deal of the truth had gradually filtered out to the Allies during the course of the war, but not to the general public. My own naivete in regard to his designs was greater than I realized.
Quick disclaimer, this is going to have a lot of very bad footage. So if you don't want to see it, then listen to us, but don't watch it because it's bad. As a journalist, I'm desensitized to the point where, I've seen, beheadings and other horrible things out there, but, I mean, not personally, but footage. This to me, still to this day, I can't do it. So I'm not going to watch it because I'm going to start getting emotional. So I'm going to listen to it, but I can't watch it.
Yeah, I know the last part. Got to me when I watched it, and it got to me now. I don't understand how you treat human beings like that. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason for it. Yeah, this is a rough episode. This was a very rough episode, and I'm not afraid to say that, to be quite frank. It's not great, but here we go.
Of what they intended to do were so shocking that I could scarcely believe them. Hitler was determined, he said, to make Europe Jew-free. He almost succeeded.
No, in your why'd the chat jump? That's weird. Hey man, how's it going? Yeah, Jacob should never be forgotten. I encourage people to watch it who don't know. Yeah, absolutely. But so just it's a little rough. It's a little rough, just FYI. Where's my mouse lagging? There it goes. Nuremberg trial, 29 November 1945.
Will at this time present a documentary film on concentration camps.
Part of the point of the Nuremberg trial is to teach a history lesson to the world. And the prosecution decides that there are few better teaching documents than film itself. Well-known filmmaker Roman Karman was recruited by the Russians. The United States was working with the Schulberg brothers, Bud and Stewart, and the Hollywood director John Ford. The Schulbergs scoured Europe, trying to find the Nazis' own footage of the atrocities they'd committed, which the Germans had tried and failed to destroy or hide. The prosecution shows that footage, along with footage from the liberation of the camps. And that creates one of the most dramatic moments of the entire trial.
This film, which we offer, represents in a brief and unforgettable form an explanation of what the words concentration camp imply.
The atmosphere changes completely. There's a hush in the room. You can hear the whir of the projector. On the screen, these images come. Images out of nightmares. And the people weren't prepared for this. Some of the defendants do hang their heads in shame, but a lot of them seem bored, which is pretty appalling if you think about the fact that these defendants are responsible for that. When I watch this film, still to this day, I've been studying this my entire adult life, and every time I see some of these images, I can't believe that people did this. The films basically say this is what the Nazis have wrought. Look at this. This cannot ever be allowed to happen again.
Yeah.
I just hate this because, quite frankly, when I see something like this, knowing what they did, I just hear it. I hear it in my head because, quite frankly, it was cheered from the rafters by so many people. Ziga, Ziga. It's probably it means hail to victory, but it's some of the most haunting words ever.
Mhm. Also, a lot of the actual German population and certain military personnel did not were not aware, but others
No, they
were.
weren't.
Others were, and to hear them sit there and be emotionless, like, what kind of human being are you? What drives you?
The soulless one. And there were plots against Hitler. So maybe not so many soulless, but this was this
Very
is one of
tough.
the
It's a
yeah.
very tough, like, for me, it was a very tough episode and still is. But yeah.
Yeah, not great. And I know that Andy has been talking about Genghis Khan. Yeah, absolutely. Uh,
Yeah.
he took the world down to 10% of the population. So, which is very true. But
Yes.
and look, I'm not defending him either because he sucks. He's also probably a large progenitor of a large population of Asia, because he did a lot of mating, but yeah, he killed a lot of people on his conquest. I'll give him this though. He didn't target certain groups. From what I understand, did he, Anna?
That's why I have the shape of my eyes, and a lot of Russians have like almond shaped eyes, is because of the Tartar invasion.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep. A lot of our swear words in Russian, like "huy mudak," sorry, mom, if you're watching this, they come
Mom's gonna
from
be so
that.
mad at you.
Yeah, they come from that kind of area. But yeah, and again, Stalin was not a saint, but the people who fought the Nazis were definitely doing it because they were protecting their land and their families.
Yep. No, Nobody's gonna sit on this panel and say that Stalin was a saint. He wasn't.
He was a psychopath too.
He did things that were horrible.
Which is why a lot of the monuments to him, and even because to this day you can go and visit the mausoleum in the Kremlin, which has Lenin's body preserved. I've been there a few times. Sorry, I'll be right back. But yeah.
Anna still has a landline, apparently. You know, most Americans don't. But in the UK, they have landlines still. I'm seriously joking. No, okay. Andy says, so what the freak? Whoa, 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 whoa. Anna can't drive? She can drive. I mean, I don't think she does drive, but she can drive. Andy says, all credit Stalin with a much better stash than Mustache Man. Well, I mean, one stash is like forever, like forbidden. It's like, you have to be like, all right, I'm not proud of that. I don't want to do that. We're going back to the episode because, quite frankly, it's gone off the rails. This is a history show, by the way. No, this right here is why I literally hear from not just Indiana Jones or any other documentary, but this scene right here. After all the heinousness, you hear Ziga, Ziga, Ziga. It means hail to victory, but it was turned into such a horrible thing. It was.
I'm sorry. I know I can't drive. Everybody knows that.
No, I'm never letting you drive. I told you that.
I know.
Wait, what happened?
Mustang said Anna can't drive. And I'm proud of it.
Whoa, wait, hold on. Hold on. There's a story here.
I can drive a horse.
Wait, hold on. Dude, you ain't had Anna drive you. She is the worst than 5 Asian women.
Yeah, I was pretty bad that one time in Fortnite.
Oh, in Fortnite?
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. I thought there was an actual story here. Well, that one time in Fortnite, I couldn't drive. Shit.
But no, yeah.
I thought in the real world that you couldn't drive.
No.
She does. Never mind. I don't want to do this. So how was your landline phone call?
Yeah, it was good. I was speaking to the Indian person who was trying to sell me some insurance.
Why do you still have a landline?
Because everyone does?
No, not everyone does.
Okay, well, we do.
Yeah. Do you have to pay for that?
Yeah, of course. It's not free.
Well, then get rid of it. You don't need it.
I'm not going to listen to you tell me to get rid of my landline.
Get rid of your landline, woman.
Okay, go back to the episodes.
I know, I'm joking. She's like, All right, here we go.
Wochen im Süden bereits sich der Winter brechen und es wird dann der Frühling weiter nach dem Norden ziehen. Das Eis wird schmelzen und es wird eine Stunde kommen, wo der Boden wieder hart und fest wird, wo der deutsche Musketier mit seinem Gerät operieren kann und wo neue Waffen aus der Heimat strömen werden und wo wir wieder schlagen werden.
published later. German occupied Poland, spring
In the spring of
1942.
1942, Hitler was convinced that since they had survived the winter, that the initiative would once again be theirs. The main mission at that point was to move to the south and to capture oil fields, and also to take major cities in the south, such as Stalingrad. Stalingrad was incredibly important because it was a city named after Stalin. If Stalingrad were lost, that would be a huge blow to the Soviet people. Hitler told Commander Friedrich Paulus that victory must be achieved at all costs. That surrender was completely impossible. Both sides saw the battle that would take place there as one that would in some ways determine the outcome of the war. Germany needed a very impressive victory in order to show the Western Allies and also the German people that the initiative was still on the German side, and Stalingrad could provide that.
The offensive is launched in June. The German army progresses quite quickly through Ukraine, going east. It's advancing a little bit too quickly, so while they're capturing a lot of territory, they're not really defeating anyone. The Soviets are just retreating.
Hitler reaches Stalingrad, and he can't take the city immediately, so the timetable is thrown off, and the army is forced to fight a battle that it has not been designed to fight. It turns into a block-by-block urban war, for which, of course, the panzer divisions, the tanks are not designed.
This was a house-to-house street battle, sometimes German and Soviet soldiers face-to-face. Red Army soldiers developed incredibly creative tactics to ambush the Germans, to shoot them from windows, to throw bombs at them, to mine various houses.
It's called guerrilla warfare tactics.
Yeah.
And it's very effective in an urban environment. And
I mean,
unfortunately,
the majority of people were like normal civilians as well, so more like militia, not just the soldiers with their tanks, but people like coming together in little groups and like protecting certain areas. And yeah, like I think they talk about it like they'll like booby trap houses and there's quite a few good documentaries on Stalingrad, and like for me it's always the most impactful, apart from the siege of Leningrad, which is now St. Petersburg, and Stalingrad is now Volgograd, like I was saying before. When I go to every time I go back to Moscow, it's my ritual to always go to the called Park Победы, which is a victory park, and they have a massive museum. And I spent all day walking around and just looking at the exhibitions of the tanks, the weapons. They have like dioramas where you walk in and it has like the sound effects and the lighting and like the gunshots and the audio and everything. Like I do it religiously every time I go back home, because I want to remind myself of, things that were sacrificed, were done by these heroes.
Yeah. So real quick, that's what I was talking about. Enemy at the Gates.
Enemy at the Gates, the one with the Judge
Jude Law.
Jude Law. Yeah.
That's a very good movie.
It's all right. It's okay. I watched a better film today, actually, called Downfall, which is a German film made in 2005. Released in 2005, made in 2004. You have to actually, it's not dubbed or anything, so it's subtitles, completely German, and it's about the downfall of Mustache Man, his final days in the bunker. And the actor who plays him is brilliant. I think a lot of people know, like from memes and everything, when he's sitting at the table and he's like going full out his German, like, how can we have lost this? How can we have, been so stupid to do this? And all his generals are like, whoa, dude, like that's a really famous scene. It was nominated for the Oscars as a foreign film. Like I really highly also suggest that, Downfall.
All right.
Really good.
I will have to look that up. I have never heard of that one.
It's really, really good. It's like some of the best acting I've ever seen in my life.
What? Mustang says there's another one about the one of the Russian
Yeah.
women snipers that is very good. I'll find it for you.
Yeah, there's also a very good Soviet film, which is a black and white film called which she means eyes. I don't remember what the name is, but it's about a group of sniper women who are facing off like a platoon of German Nazi soldiers. And they're led by their commanding officer. So it's a guy and these 5 women who like pick them off one by one. Brilliant film. Another one also is about the Night Witches. We talked about it with Horny Alf and you, I think, and Samuel, the infamous, like last year, about a group of squadron of female Soviet pilots who were dogfighting with the Germans. That's also awesome. So again, like going back to in that time, there was no, like, if you wanted to be a pilot or if you wanted to be a sniper, you could do that as a woman. Your job was not just like administrative assistant, accountant, or like code breaker. Like you could actually be on the front lines as infantry as well.
Yeah. Quite frankly, women can still not be in the infantry in the U.S. Army in today's military.
I thought they could.
No.
Oh, in the UK they can.
No, in the U.S. Army, you can be military police, which is, we joked about for years, which means multi-purpose, which means you can do that kind of stuff. But no, not in infantry. It's all men. Yeah. So
It's fine. Whatever.
you want to be in the U.S. Army?
If my country was being invaded and like there was conscription, yes, I would go.
No, I know that.
And I want to go into the army. But if I need to protect my family, I will go.
Mustang says battle for
Sevastopol. Yes. Battle for Sevastopol. Or sorry, in English, Sevastopol.
No, I like it better the way you say it. So that's why you get to read it. No, not that one. I got to do the overlay again. Ugh. Overlay thing. It works, but at the same time.
As the Germans are sucked into Stalingrad, Stalin launches the counterattack, which surrounds the city. Hitler and his forces are trapped. They're totally exhausted. They have, ammunition, food, everything is gone.
Field Marshal Friedrich Paulus wanted to surrender. He was the commander of the 6th German Army, but Hitler told him no and expected that if Olaf failed, that Paulus would commit suicide.
Hitler was constitutionally incapable of retreating because it was part of his worldview. Never to negotiate from a weak point, but only to negotiate from a position of strength.
Field Marshal Friedrich von Paulus does surrender, and Hitler is absolutely furious about this.
This is a catastrophic defeat. An entire army is destroyed.
The losses were nearly unprecedented. An army of almost 300,000 people. Out of them, over 150,000 Germans died.
Я прошу разрешения вести крауд для допроса фельдмаршала
бывшей германской армии Фридриха Паулюса.
The Russian prosecutors spring this surprise witness on everyone. Paulus comes into the courtroom, and by all accounts, this is this huge moment. It was thought that he was dead. Goering is absolutely furious. He sees Paulus as...
I mean, it's kind of like get wrecked, dude. Yeah. So, gives a shit what Goering thinks.
the most total traitor there could be.
Ваша последняя должность — командующий 6-й армией под Сталинградом.
Jawohl.
The defendants themselves, they're going out of their minds to see Paulus there because they know that he's going to incriminate them.
Кого вы считаете виновными преступного развязывания войны с Советским Союзом?
Die ersten militärischen Berater Hitlers, das ist der Chef des Oberkommandos der Wehrmacht Keitel, der Chef des Wehrmachtsführungsamtes Jodl und Göring in seiner Eigenschaft als Reichsmarschall.
Paulus's testimony is incredibly important for laying out the conspiracy to wage aggressive war and the whole crimes against peace charge. People who watched the trial all refer to Paulus when they talk about this moment as the specter of Stalingrad, who had come to tell the truth about the war.
There was not a word of sympathy or grief from Hitler for the more than 100,000 German soldiers who had been slaughtered in the carnage of Stalingrad. Nor was there a single word from Hitler about his own responsibility for the greatest military defeat in German history. This was a man now doomed, and by his own folly.
After the defeat at Stalingrad, Hitler is finished. And he both knew it, but still also refused to admit it. The outcome of the war is decided in 42, even if it's going to take a very long time to end.
Hitler increasingly held back from public view. He knew that the bond between the...
This is where I have a problem with this. No, it's not necessarily a defeat. It's you lost the battle. And yes, the people of the Russian army and the citizens of Stalingrad fought mercilessly and viciously. But the thing is, though, is that you sent 3 million into the Soviet Union and you lost 100,000 in one battle. Like, there's still enough troops, but
No, there wasn't, because those troops were fighting other fronts.
They were fighting on other fronts. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because Stalingrad ended with them surrendering.
Yes.
With General Paulus in 1943.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's 2 years before Berlin was taken. At the same time, things are starting to really escalate on the Western Front, on the Asia Pacific front. Like, I'm going to get to what happens next, which is, again, a pivotal point. So whilst you're having all of these soldiers on the Eastern Front fighting, then what happens? One of the greatest invasions of all time, D-Day. Like, they really coordinated it so they would attack them from every side. But to go back too quickly with conscripting people, women, I don't think should be like in Israel. In Russia, they used to do that. That was something, even when I was there, you had to go through training as part of your university course. All the boys have to. Women, it's very optional. But if you're a man, you have to know how to use a gun, how to defend your country. It's just the way it is. Unless you are disabled or not able for other reasons. It's always been that way with women. I think everybody should be able to defend their country, but it shouldn't be like obligatory. Like in Israel, it's obvious why they would have to. Again, we've
Yeah.
had these conversations before, but it's not really a state that is in a constant peace. So if I had a daughter, I would want her to go into the army for the year and a half that they do have conscription, and they can come back home. It's literally like an after school thing, like curriculum activity where you know how to protect yourself. It's not like you ship off and go off for whatever, a year and a half and don't see your family. But I
Yeah.
don't that should, you know, in the United States, like why? For what reason?
In my opinion, no reason.
Yeah.
It's uh it's
I
the
think any parent, if they want to teach their child how to protect themselves, have the right to do so.
real quick, Andy says in Switzerland, every male citizen is trained, serves, and is issued a weapon they take home, and it must be maintained. Yeah. I agree with this, even for women, uh, in the United States. I think a
You have to have
firearm,
training. At the end of the day, you have to have
yeah,
training.
training.
And you can do it as part of your educational kind of like career when you go to school, high school or college or university, like training you to be able to know how to handle your way if something happens. God forbid it doesn't, but if it does, you just know what to do and you've had practice. There's nothing but to like force people into it when they don't want to, then no.
Yeah. The US is big enough to not have that problem. So
Yeah.
I'm not pro that. Also at the same time, women need to know how to protect themselves. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But women are not a fighting force for the most part. Men are protectors. Women are, there are women who will do what they need to do.
Yeah, I'm way too tired to debate this with you, honestly, but I'll save it for another day. But I have my opinions on that.
No, I know. But
I don't agree
if
with
it
that.
came down to me and you who had to fight, I would rather me fight over you.
We're not fighting in a WWE ring, are we? If I had a shotgun and you came at me, I'd shoot you. Like that's the end of the fight.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Not I'm talking about fighting in a war.
I just told you women had combat roles.
No, I know. There's nothing wrong with that.
They can shoot weapons.
Yes.
Yeah, so what's the point of your argument?
It's that women can be very good in tactical situations. But when the shit hits the fan, I'm 6'4", you're 5'2". You will
I don't
never.
understand, what kind of war are we fighting? Are we like the Vikings doing like shield wall? And I'm going like my tiny ass going against a 6 foot whatever guy. Of course I'm not gonna win physically. But we're not doing shield walls, are we? We're fighting with swords.
Well,
In this day and age, it doesn't matter. Everything's done by drones and other shit anyway, so and women are good spies.
Mustang says, Ryan, take the L. Yeah. I'm gonna take the L on that one. So moving forward.
The people in their Fuhrer had weakened and could only be strong when he was succeeding in military victories.
Meanwhile, Joseph Goebbels, the Minister of Propaganda, does what propagandists like him would do. He tries to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat and makes a speech called the Total War Speech.
Engländer behaupten, das deutsche Volk wehrt sich gegen die totalen Kriegsmaßnahmen der Regierung. Es will nicht den totalen Krieg, sagen die Engländer, sondern die Kapitulation.
Total war was a concept whereby the entire German economy, the entire German home front would be called up to serve the war effort.
Wollt ihr den totalen Krieg?
He tries to stir up sentiments in Germany to say now we may be defeated, and therefore we have to fight to the end. We have to be entirely relentless. But you have to understand the reports of the vast number of losses, the killed and the wounded who are streaming back to Germany are such that the only way that the regime believes it can still sustain the morale of the population is by saying we will now fight a total war.
By 43, the Allies are launching these huge bomber raids. The magnitude of the air war and the capacity of the Allies to destroy entire German cities is being demonstrated night after night. They kill 40,000 people in Hamburg. And of course, the Rhineland, Cologne, and other cities are being plastered because that area is in fairly short range from Great Britain.
Last night, the British Bomber Command dropped 6 million pounds of bombs on Cologne. It was the greatest bombing attack in history. Smoke and fires were visible at dawn from the coast of Holland. 3 years ago tonight, the war was 36 hours old. It was war, bloody, cruel, terrible, as are all wars. And yet, in Berlin that night, it did not seem quite like that to most Germans. The war is much grimmer for them today. Their stomachs more gnawing, their great hopes so much reduced, and there's no end, no victory, no peace in sight.
After things began to look a bit grim for the Nazis, Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS and the chief architect and executor of the Holocaust, called together leading Nazis, leading generals, and gave them a speech at Posen.
Ich nehme auch ein ganz schweres Kapitel. Will ich hier vor Ihnen in aller Offenheit nennen. In der Starrung des Jahres 76 jetzt gekommen sein.
So this was recorded audio only. Just
Yeah.
yeah, it's different. It's
And
different.
quickly
No.
to say, I have always said that and agree with what Jacob is saying. As a woman, physically, that yes, there are women out there who are stronger than some men, but as a woman, I would not be able to drag a grown man across the field during a battle. No, but I can fly a plane and drop bombs. Well, I can't personally, but I could if I wanted to. Even though I can't drive a car.
I so thought you had a car. I mean, but you live in a place where
Yeah, Ludmila Pavlichenko Mustangs has 309 kills. Yep. There are places. I know my place. I know that if it really had to come to it, like, and you really had to be infantry, but I'm sorry, if there's, like, gunfire and everything, and it's not, just, like, 2 against 2 people, but, like, thousands, what is the point of me dragging somebody anywhere? I'm probably gonna get shot anyway.
that's not a great excuse.
Unless I'm a medic. Another great film. Oh my god, the one by Mel Gibson with Andrew Garfield. Hacksaw Ridge. where he's a
Yeah.
medic. Yeah, that's a good film. I like that. Yeah.
I mean, when you kick in a door to an establishment, quite frankly, there could be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in there. It's not great. it's it's not a great situation.
See, I have good taste in films. Everybody agrees with me. Okay. Awkward.
Meine Judenevakuierung, die Ausrottung des jüdischen Volkes.
One of the only times where we've got senior Nazi leadership openly admitting that they are killing all of the Jews of Europe.
Ja. Von euch werden die meisten wissen, was es heißt, wenn 100 Leichen beisammen liegen. Wenn 500 da liegen oder wenn 1000 da liegen. Durchgehalten zu haben. Und dabei
I want to address this real quick. That's not a thing. That's a very rare thing. You blast open the door, you insert grenade, grenade makes all people. No, that's not a thing.
Okay.
This is from Call of Duty kind of crap. So no, it's not a thing. You kick the.
Actually, have you ever played the World War II Call of Duty? It's really good. I played it a couple of months ago. I love it because it's based on D-Day, and you play as this infantry soldier, and it was really good. I loved it. I'm not usually a Call of Duty person, but that I did like just because of World War II. And then you make your way to Paris, and you have to fight with the resistance. It's cool.
I started with a Medal of Honor. A lot of people will understand that from like the PlayStation 1. Yeah, that was kind of my jam. You can't get that on Steam. That's a bummer. And I don't understand why. So yeah. How much? We're close. We only have 18 minutes left. So
All right, I'm gonna shut up
why?
because
People
we have
like to.
I know, but keep playing the episode.
All right.
Thank you.
abgesehen von menschlichen Ausnahmeschwächen. Anständig geblieben zu sein, hat uns stark gemacht und ist ein niemals genauso und niemals zu nennendes Ruhmesgrad.
Himmler says this history will never be written because he knows it is a crime in this perverted logic of the Nazis, which they had to commit for the future of Germany.
Wir haben das moralische Recht. Wir hatten die Pflicht, unser Volk gegenüber dazu, jedes Volk auf unbedingte Leute umzugehen. Da werde ich niemals zusehen, dass so etwas auch nur auf eine kleine Fäulnisstelle bei uns eintreten und nicht festsetzen, sondern lossetzen sollte sein, jetzt gemeinsam ausbleiben. Insgesamt aber können wir sagen, wir haben diese schwere Aufgabe in Liebe zu unserem Volk getan. Wir haben keinen Schaden in unserem Inneren, in unserer Seele, in unserem Charakter daran genommen.
It's very hard to understand the extent to which these people were so warped. What he's trying to say to his own SS officers and to himself is that what they're doing is something that is glorious. This is a great act that the mass murder that the SS is involved in elevates them to a higher moral sphere. That they're doing something great for humanity, but humanity cannot understand it yet.
Nuremberg trial, June 4th, in 1946.
Was wussten Sie überhaupt von Judenvernichtung? Ich erinnere Sie dabei an Ihren Eid.
Alfred Jodl.
Ich weiß, wie unwahrscheinlich alle diese Erklärungen klingen. Ich kann nur hier zum Ausdruck bringen.
dass ich niemals von einer Vernichtung von Juden gehört habe. Ich bin ein einziges Mal misstrauisch geworden. Und das war, als Himmler über den Aufstand im jüdischen Ghetto vortrug.
What? Can I
Go
just?
ahead. Yes. Yes, you can.
I'm.
Say it.
I don't understand. Like, I was never suspicious of anything. But hey, this one time when he told me about a revolt in the Jewish ghetto, would me being so like upper echelon in the party, I would not know what a Jewish ghetto is?
No, you
I would not.
wouldn't.
It's just bullshit again. It's like having people you know that actually committed a crime trying to excuse themselves. And at a certain point, it's like you go through those stages where you get angry, then you get upset, and then you kind of like sit back and you just look at it with disgust. It's disgusting. Yes, you did know. All of you knew.
Mhm.
Everybody in that inner circle knew.
Yeah. They're liars. Which seems to be one of the worst human traits is lying. Not just to yourself, but to people you love or to other people because you're ashamed or what are you're trying to avoid being prosecuted. Yeah. Clifton says all the Germans knew.
Oh, wow.
I believe him. I believe him. It's
Well, you have to get Clifton on soon so he can give his perspective because from what I always understood studying it is that not every German knew. So that's interesting.
well, I think that Clifton would be a great addition to the finale of this series because
Mhm.
again, he knows he's half American, but he's also half German, so he understands that you know the dynamic of his family, kind of
Hmm.
like you do. Like I don't. I only know what I read in history books about the invasion of Russia and the Soviet Union and all that kind of stuff. But like your family lived it. You have that actual knowledge,
Yeah.
and it's lived experience passed down to you that history books don't take into account.
Yeah.
That's huge. So yeah, that's huge.
What is the name of that film where they portray it in a really interesting way? The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, also based on a book. It's a good film as well, where um the guy who's like a senior officer, whatever, moves in, his family moves in, and his wife is completely oblivious. They were like living in cuckoo land, like they didn't know anything. And maybe sometimes people choose to not use their brain. And, I have a good life. I have servants. My husband is making good money. I don't want to think about it. And then she starts noticing the smell because they moved from whether it was Munich or Berlin next to the concentration camp that he was looking over. And then she starts noticing the smell because her children are saying like, "Mom, what is that smell?" And that's when she like approaches him and she's like, "What the hell are you guys actually doing there?" So
Yeah.
that some people did not honestly wanted to be oblivious and blissful. It's like don't ask any questions, just consume what I'm telling you. Don't ask any questions.
Yes, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Yeah.
It is a 2008 Holocaust historical drama film.
Yeah, it's really good.
What service is it on? I don't see a service.
I
So
don't know, but yes, everybody go and watch Iron Sky.
all right. I'm over the Iron Sky. Y'all are you fuckers.
Yeah, and we're trolling always with that documentary.
Wait. What are you doing?
We are trolling,
Trawling?
trolling,
You said trawling.
trolling, rolling, trolling, whatever. Yeah, two-parter. Great.
Oh,
It's awesome.
yeah. They're trawling.
Yeah.
And it's trawling. What? Horse-drawn Tolly. The fuck is that funny for?
I don't know. Trolling.
No, you said trawling.
I know.
You said it like you have a country accent. You ain't never been to the country until
like I'm either from freaking Philadelphia. The other day I was from Canada. Today I'm from the country.
What do you?
I don't know.
Harris.
Right.
That's funny.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, one day she's this accent, but yeah, she doesn't have an excuse. I do.
Yeah, Anna, say New Orleans.
No, I'm not going to say New Orleans.
No, come on, say New
No,
Orleans.
it's New Orleans. It's not. No, I'm not.
No, it's New Orleans.
It comes naturally. I cannot do it on purpose.
Say Louisiana.
No. Continue with the Nazis.
He said, she's like, go away. All right, we're still alive, which is great. I'm loving this filter thing.
Are you speaking Warsaw? Ich spreche von dem Aufstand im Ghetto in Warschau.
In 1943, conditions in the Jewish ghettos inside Poland were becoming increasingly dire. Typhus outbreaks, waves of starvation were taking thousands and thousands of lives.
The living conditions are cramped. Entire families slave in ghetto workshops. People clung to the hope that working for the Nazis would potentially save them.
But as the final solution was being put into place, there were also movements to liquidate some of these ghettos and send the Jews into concentration camps where they would be gassed.
The Germans said that they were simply going to be transported to work camps in the east. But there was both Jewish intelligence and Warsaw underground intelligence saying the trains go in full of people. They always come back empty. There's never any food sent up these lines. Something terrible is going on. There were organizations in the ghetto which began to say, okay, we're going to resist.
The aim was to start looking for places to hide as many children as we are able to, and to start buying and looking for arms and to smuggle them into the ghetto.
The organizations had collected Molotov cocktails, they had some guns, they had some other ammunition and weapons. The Germans thought this was going to be very quick, just clear the ghetto finally. This was supposed to be a birthday present for Hitler. Hitler's birthday is the 20th of April. And then Warsaw could be declared Judenrein or Judenfrei, free of Jews. This was the most significant act of Jewish resistance in all of German-occupied Europe. And it took the Germans by surprise. The new commander of the Germans in Warsaw came up with a new method of attacking the ghetto, which was to simply start to destroy the ghetto by fire. And so he took flamethrowers and they started just burning building by building.
And I saw also certain pictures which were seared in my mind. Some Jews jumping from buildings. And people outside, some saying, oh, take a look, Jews are frying now. We couldn't do too much to help them. It was the end of the Warsaw Ghetto.
Of course, the ghetto fighters were true heroes because they knew that they were not going to succeed against the might of the Germans. They knew that they would be killed, most of them were, but their bravery was astronomical because they decided that they were going to fight with a gun in their hand or die fighting rather than just be taken to the trains to be murdered.
As one who has spent the last 8 years mostly in the totalitarian lands, I've seen what happens to nations and peoples that Hitler conquers. The slaughter of women and children has been far worse than in any previous war in history. Consider Warsaw. It was a deliberate decision to slaughter not opposing troops, but helpless civilians. Men of the armed forces were fighting to survive and to remain free.
It is June 6, 1944.
D-Day. Let's go.
Good. Fucking good.
Yeah. Let's do it. Even though a lot of people died, but what
Yeah, I know.
What a oh my god. I think I said this before. I think I was on one of our Hunting Hitler ones when they were talking about D-Day. Only 20 minutes away from me is the headquarters where they were orchestrating all of this from.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, research that because that's something that I'm definitely interested in. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's it was brutal, but also again, big shout out to people who were filming this and taking the photos. So I even as a journalist get nervous taking on my film camera photos when I'm in a completely serene environment. I don't have things being shot at me. And I'm still oh shit, did I get the ICO right or is shutter speed right? And I'm oh good lord, here you don't have that moment to think. You just do. You just snap.
So you're using a 35 millimeter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it on a timer?
No, it's not. No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's a 35 millimeter film camera. There's no timers.
I mean, there are.
It's a 1961 camera.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So go on. D-Day. Continue.
This one bothers me. All right, here we go.
Mm-hmm. It's not playing.
D-Day.
I know.
The greatest armada ever assembled comes to the northern coast of France to liberate a continent.
Under command of General Eisenhower, Allied naval forces supported by strong air forces began landing Allied armies on the northern coast of France.
On June the 6th, 1944, the Americans, the British, and the Canadians begin their long-awaited invasion of Northern Europe. That's where the terrain allowed for major offensive operations. That was the path into Germany.
Now the first assault boats move into the Normandy beaches under deadly enemy crossfire and mortars. The unending stream of invading troops plunge waist-deep into fortified waters to gain their beachhead objective.
The last few dangerous yards must be waded through underwater mines and enemy barrage.
Hitler sleeps through the opening hours of D-Day after having spent the night with his companions reminiscing about the good old days of the movement. But when he finally wakes up and is informed that the invasion has started, he's relieved, optimistic even.
Hitler was always overconfident. He always overestimated the power and resources of Germany, which after all is simply a regional power in Europe. And he was a radical racist who believed that America was a mishmash of different races that could never really do anything at all. So he massively underestimated their power and their determination.
If you listen to German broadcasts today, they spoke of today's landings as being perhaps only diversion, as if they expected the main blow somewhere else. There will be surprises and setbacks and many a change in plan. But in all our excitement, getting a foothold in France today, we must remember that the battle has scarcely begun and that many grim days lie ahead, unless, of course, the Germans collapse.
I remember my dad's mom, who was a young girl and was actually evacuated in the 40s from London because of the Blitzkrieg. And she said that they had all the kids and they took them down to another city outside of London, and they were all sitting by the radio, like really being so, just even as like a 6, 7, 10-year-old, like rooting for UK, US, France to win. Like just having that image in my head. Like kids today don't experience, they don't care, you know, and good that we are not going through something like that, but like small things like that that really like touch you.
Yeah. It's a time that we don't want to repeat, quite frankly. I don't want to repeat.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we'll watch this.
You can be sure that our high command certainly is not counting on it.
Once the Allies invade France, the Germans no longer have an option to essentially treat the Western Front as a sideshow. It is now as big a threat to Germany's survival as the war in Russia is. Germany now really is facing a two-front war in the fullest possible sense.
Hitler in his Wolfschanze is effectively, if he was realistic about it, watching a map that's shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and these armies are now moving toward the German borders themselves. Hitler is, in a way, in a fantasy land.
There is a group of Wehrmacht officers, many of them they serve the regime loyally, and they decide that it is time to try and find a way of assassinating Hitler.
Yep.
They realize that Hitler is going to fight to the end, and that will end with the destruction of Germany. And they love Germany. They don't want Germany to be destroyed. They don't want all these civilians to be butchered.
The person who had volunteered and in effect was chosen to actually carry out the act of assassination was Colonel Graf Schenk von Stauffenberg, who was a count and aristocrat in the military.
Stauffenberg has been very badly injured in North Africa. He's lost an eye, he's lost his right hand, and he's lost 2 fingers off of his left hand.
Stauffenberg recognized that he had the chance when he was called to the Wolf's Lair for a meeting on the 20th of July, 1944.
He lands at the airfield. He has the bombs in a briefcase. He's driven from the airport to the Wolfschanze, to the Wolf's Lair, and then finally into the final inner sanctum where Hitler himself worked. For Stauffenberg's plan to succeed, it would have been better if the meeting had been held in one of the concrete bunkers at the Wolf's Lair. But the meeting was scheduled in a wooden building, and this meant that the potential power of the bomb blast would be significantly reduced. When he arrives, Stauffenberg asks to go to the bathroom.
I would be so anxious. I would like, yeah, but then at the same time, I would be like, I have to do this. Like everybody, the world will be better for me doing this. But I can't imagine. Like, oh God, the bravery. Because if his suitcase was checked at any point, or he was like breaking a sweat or looking weird, like, wow, just the bravery. Even though he still is a Nazi, but
Yes, but he wasn't. He was someone who
was fighting for his country, and then when he saw what was happening by 1944, the plans to assassinate this genocidal weirdo came to actual fruition, because it's not like you can just, it takes years to stage a coup or to get people to trust you. Because back then, like, if somebody approached me and is like, I don't like what we're doing here, I think this is heinous, I'd be like, I don't know. Are you like double bluffing me? Are you trying to get me to see if and then I'm going to get shot in the head in the alleyway because I'm a traitor? Like, I don't know. Like, it takes time to establish those relationships. And that's why it took so long.
Yeah. And there's a movie, Operation Valkyrie.
Is that the one with Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a fail, but it's an incredible movie.
He only has time to arm one of the two explosive devices. Everything's very, very rushed. There are people knocking at the door asking where he is. He's absolutely petrified because at any moment something could go terribly wrong. The tension is rising as he gets closer and closer to Hitler. He goes into the map room. The generals are around, the map's laid out. Hitler starts talking about plans and the orders of the day, with the excuse that his hearing was so badly damaged by his injuries in North Africa. Stauffenberg was able to secure a place close to Hitler. He then places the briefcase as close to Hitler as possible. And then he makes the excuse that he's got to make a phone call, and he leaves the room. Somebody moves the briefcase behind a heavy oak table leg where the meeting is taking place. Stauffenberg leaves the meeting in a hurry. He knows the bomb's going to go off. He's rushing toward his car, and he hears the explosion.
He was fully convinced that he had succeeded. He thought there was no way that Hitler could possibly have survived that explosion.
Von Stauffenberg flies to Berlin, to the headquarters, effectively, of the conspiracy. Stauffenberg did not know that somebody had moved the briefcase with the bomb, and this limited the impact of the explosion, and in some ways helped Hitler survive the attack.
Hitler was utterly irate He demanded that every conspirator be rounded up immediately, and that not only they be executed as traitors, but every member of their family and every one of their close associates.
Though he had escaped death by a miracle, Adolf Hitler was never the same after July 20th, 1944. What had been a tendency to bluff became plain dishonesty. He often lied without hesitation and assumed that others lied to him. He believed no one anymore. He frequently lost all self-control, and his language grew increasingly violent. In his intimate circle, he found no restraining influence. It was this man alone, half mad and rapidly crumbling in body and mind, who was able almost single-handedly to prolong the agony of war for well nigh a year. Nevertheless, this was the beginning of the end.
Yeah, and that is the film that I, again, highly suggest everybody watches. It's exactly about that downfall. Is those years where he completely went. I mean, it's not like he was like a psycho running around the bunker and yelling at people, but like it's a good, again, like profile of him and how he is being delusional about wanting to win the war and having like Goebbels there, some of Himmler, some of the other people around him, and seeing their interaction, like from what they could take from historical documents. It was so good. I watched it today. I was like, wow. So
Yeah. Yep.
that was a very good episode. It was very tough at moments to
Yeah,
get
it was.
through, but at the same time, like, you know, it's always gonna be part of history, so you gotta do it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is.
Yeah.
It's the worst side of us, and we're all humans, so we're subject to that.
But it yeah, the death of Stalin I watched during the coup, I think. And yeah, Buscemi, great actor, plays Khrushchev. I don't remember who plays Stalin. It was a comedy. It was all right. I wasn't like too into it.
All
But
right. Well, we're just shy of 20 minutes of the other day. So that being said, thank you everybody for being here. Seriously.
thank you.
And Anna, what do you have going on?
I have pretty much no, I'm gonna be on MSK's thing on Wednesday, I think. I'm not sure. I think it's like 8 p.m. PST, whatever that is. So that's he says MSK like Master Swag King, but that just sounds weird. So it's Iron Man podcast. It's a panel show. I think Iron Oxide, Selena are gonna be there. So we shall see. Yeah, PST. And then other than that, I'm gonna be playing more Resident Evil with Frostfang. And then back here on Monday with Brian. In case he forgot his name. And I keep interrupting him, and it sounds funny. No, thank you, everybody. Thank you, chat. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you to Joe Berlinger, who actually made this. In the beginning, it kind of went a bit weird, and then it got to the meat, which was good.
Give me the meat and give it to me raw.
No, we're not doing Rings of Power. No.
Come on, that was funny.
No, it was not funny. It was dumb. Meat is back on the table. Yes.
Yeah. Meat is back on the table. All right. So that being said, thank you for being here, everybody. Absolutely.
Thank
And
you.
let's see what's going on Wednesday. We're doing Wednesday night is overbooked. That is a wrestling show. So if you like wrestling, you like wrestling, check that out.
Ooh! Oh my god. I'm so sorry. Talking of wrestling. Clifton 3D told me something about there's a new documentary coming out on Netflix about the
Vince McMahon.
yeah, like in 2 weeks or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll watch that.
You'll watch
No,
that?
it would be interesting to if you guys watched it and then talked about it. That's all I'm saying. An idea.
We're going to.
Okay, good.
But you'll be on MSK's podcast on Wednesday night when we're live. So how would you know?
It's out in 2 weeks. It's not out yet.
I'm joking.
Oh no, wait, it's out on Wednesday. No, I was thinking of the other one, Graham Hancock, the guy who does like alternative history. And in his Apocalypse, Ancient Apocalypse season 2, he's got Keanu Reeves in it. It's like Ancient Aliens, but
that has nothing to do with WWE.
I know, I'm saying I was thinking of WWE, the documentary. It's coming out on Wednesday, so you guys can talk about it because you have a show on Wednesday.
And Clifton says Wednesday, I think.
Ugh.
And he says, yep.
Yes. Lord.
Look, guys, she's busy.
Yes,
she's hanging out with MSK on Wednesday.
Yes, Mustang, even though the last season was shit. Keep digging into the same hole and nothing happens.
Because it's a stupid show.
It's not stupid. I love it.
It's kind of stupid.
No, it's better than Ancient Aliens.
I didn't say anything about Ancient Aliens.
Yeah. But yeah. So sorry. Go on.
Yes, Andy says, Anna thinks that wrestlers are aliens. Well, some maybe. Ooh. Dude, The Curse of Oak Island. Great show. History Channel.
No, it isn't. It's shit.
You're shit.
You're shit.
I don't like you.
I don't like you. What? Promote yourself.
I did.
You're doing a very good job right now. Do it.
I did. I said on Wednesday, Wednesday night is overbooked.
Okay, and then what?
And I made a joke that you'd be on MSK's podcast, so you wouldn't know what was going on about Vince McMahon.
Okay.
The Netflix thing. Wait, yeah, and shit. So the search for Mustache Man's hole. So yes, again, next Monday we're going to be finishing Hitler and the Nazis, Evil on Trial.
Mm-hmm.
It's the last episode, so I will see if Clifton wants to be a part of it to kind of give Germany's perspective, and I think that'd be really good. So, and that being said, it's been a good show. It was an emotional show.
Yeah, it was.
It was a rough one. So, thank you all for being here, seriously, and we will see you next time.